What's your problem, Kazansky?
You're everyone's problem. That's because every time you go up in the air, you're unsafe. I don't like you because you're dangerous.
That's right. Ice, man. I am dangerous.
Hello and welcome once again to the Cine-Files, where each week we enter the world of a great film. We explore its themes, its history, the filmmaking, and the influence it has on us today. My name is Steve Morris. I am a directing instructor and a filmmaker in Los Angeles, California.
Hello, everyone. My name is John Roca. Steve has his tongue firmly planted in his cheek saying all of that.
Everything I said was true.
True, but with the film we're going to talk about today, that tongue is firmly planted in his cheek. But let me say, I am a voiceover actor, host, writer, producer, all that on-air talent over there at Collider. And I can't wait to talk about this movie. It is my favorite 80s movie, and I feel the need for speed. Absolutely.
I have felt so much excitement coming from you
Yeah.
about talking about this movie.
I love this movie.
And in case you didn't pick up on the quote
Or read the title.
movie we're talking about is Top Gun.
Top Gun.
Top Gun, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
This is a Patreon pick. It comes from Matt Young and Colton Blackstop. Thank you very much for your support, and I hope you like what we do with Top Gun.
John,
Yes.
how did you come to Top Gun?
Oh, I came to this on a beautiful Friday night in Virginia when I was was it an 86 film? So I was probably 15, going on to 16. I had just become the man in my life. I'd lifted weights. This was like the beginning of the change of my life
Right.
from what I was before, the nerdy fat kid who got beat up all the time, to a guy who could defend himself and was lifting weights and running and working out and picking up women and high school girls that I was dating when I was in high school. I just had a nice confidence, and this film came at the right time as my confidence as a young man was instilled inside me by my own work. And this film, I remember distinctly seeing it with my friends. I went back 5 or 6 times to see this movie.
Wow.
It is an addiction. This film is my favorite 80s movie, bar none. You can have your Raiders, you can have your Star Wars, you can have whatever you want. This film always has just a special memory to me, and a sensory memory and visceral memory for me. So whenever I see it, I always watch it with a big stupid smile on my face and just enjoy it for what it was.
And you just watched it this morning.
I did.
Do you still have the big stupid smile on your face?
I do. I do. It's just a perfect film of its time that still works. And it makes me remember a more innocent time in my life. An innocent time, I feel, in our world. Even though all this nuclear stuff was happening at the same time, we were also still a little more innocent about shit in the 80s. And I think we're way too aware of stuff now. Not in a negative way. I just think we are. And so this is a more innocent film and fun film.
Well, I think I would put it slightly differently, which is that in the 70s, we were cynical
Yes.
and dark.
'Cause of
And,
Vietnam.
we did Taxi Driver and all these movies that expose the underbelly of America.
And the military.
And the military,
Right.
And with Apocalypse Now
Right.
and Deer Hunter,
Coming
and all-
Home,
Coming
all that
Home,
stuff,
yeah.
yeah.
And so this is the reaction to that.
Yeah.
So it is more innocent, but it's like putting aside all of the dark crap we were into and saying, no, let's be patriotic and let's get to this. And a little bit about the pre-production. Of course, this is at the beginning of the wave of Simpson, Bruckheimer, Don Simpson, and Jerry Bruckheimer, which of course later became just Jerry Bruckheimer after Don Simpson passed away. They had done Beverly Hills Cop, they had done Flashdance, and they are just and then Top Gun. This is the movie that solidifies what they are going to be. And this whole thing started because Jerry Bruckheimer reads an article in California Magazine about this school called Top Gun. He takes it to Don Simpson and they go, this is a movie. Yeah. They hire Jim Cash and Jack Epps as the writers. And the one thing that they know is we have to have, it's not just military cooperation. It's more than that. They have to have complete buy-in and participation by the Navy or they can't make the movie. And they bring in a guy whose name, a whole bunch of naval advisors, but the key one is Peter Pettigrew. Okay. Not Peter Pettigrew, who was betrayed Harry Potter's family, but Peter Pettigrew, whose call sign was Viper.
Yes.
He is the real Viper.
Wow.
And he is their key advisor, and research with him just changed everything. And because they had started writing a script not really knowing how real fighter pilots operate. Right. And then they started to find out, they started to hear all the terms, and they started to find out the tactics and the dangers and how everything worked. And Jim Epps, who had been a pilot, had a pilot's license, goes and gets a ride with one of these Navy pilots sitting in the back seat, and the experience that he had after experiencing 4Gs and 3Gs and these turns and barrel rolls is he realized that this was so physical.
Yeah.
That's the thing he didn't understand. And he had an epiphany. And the epiphany is that these guys are athletes. And this movie should not be an adventure movie. This is a sports movie.
Yeah.
Which is part of why I think you love it so
Yes,
much.
I would
Is
agree.
that, and so they added these things like the locker room and the trophy. Because, spoiler alert, there is no trophy at Top Gun.
What? How
That
dare
does
you.
not exist. And what the Navy guy said is
Or
that,
locker rooms. No.
well, they have places they change, but it's not like we hang out in a locker room like a
Right.
sports team.
Right.
And the thing that they said is that not only do we not have a trophy, we would never have a trophy because all we're trying to teach at Top Gun is teamwork.
Yeah.
It's not competition. And he says if we had a trophy, these guys would all kill each other.
Yes.
Trying to get it. So they don't have a trophy.
Hence the movie.
Hence the movie. The first person they're going after is Tony Scott. Now, he'd only directed one movie before this, which is The Hunger,
Right. The Hunger.
which,
With David Bowie. Right.
yeah, I think it's David Bowie.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
I
that.
don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's one of those ones in the early 80s, those pockets of those kinds of
Kind
films.
of weird. It's supposed to be like a weird horror-ish sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't do that well.
Like The Hidden. It's a weird kind of.
Anything that starts with an H in one word is going to be a weird movie.
It's hard for you. Yeah. Fair, fair.
So he's off doing commercials, and he thinks that Tony Scott thinks that they went for him because he had done a commercial where a Saab races a fighter jet, and they're like, "Oh, this guy knows how to deal with fighter jets," and so that's how he got the job. That's what he thinks.
Wow.
And in fact, the two writers, Cash and Ebbs, wrote this movie with Tom Cruise in mind.
Wow.
They wanted Tom Cruise, and he had come off of Risky Business and Taps and The Outsiders, and he was actually in the middle of making Legend
oh,
with Tony Scott's brother,
Wow.
with Ridley,
right.
when they can. And Tom Cruise was resistant. He didn't want to do the movie, and so they finally said, "Let's get him in the backseat of a Blue Angel." And they pulled Tom Cruise off the Legend set. And he's got like his ponytail, and the Blue Angels are going, "Who is this hippie guy? We're going to show him. We're going to make him sick." They do every single thing they can think of to him. He gets out of the jet and says, "I'm making the movie," and that is how this whole thing got started.
That's how it goes.
Yeah. Shall we get into the film?
Well, first we have to find out when you watched it first.
I didn't say.
You didn't say.
Oh, I apologize.
Steve, when did you watch Top Gun for the first time?
Saw it in the theater when it came out. Loved it. It immediately went into that rotation, the VHS, go to the video store. You want to watch Top Gun again? Yeah, let's watch Top Gun again. I watched it over and over and over again in the 80s. I watched it less in the 90s. I watched it less in the aughts.
Wow.
I don't think I'd seen it for 8 or 9 years
Huh.
when I watched it last night.
Wow.
And I think that I have grown in a certain way. I totally enjoyed it last night.
Okay.
But
good.
my feelings are more complicated than they were back in the 80s.
Oh, this will be a fun discussion then. Did Karen, who loves this film, your wife,
Still loved it.
she still loves it?
She
That's
also loved it in a sort of, oh, that's interesting kind
Yeah.
of way.
I understand.
I mean, because it's Top Gun, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Ain't a place for the weak. This ain't Jean-Luc Picard's Top Gun. This is
No,
Shatner's Top Gun,
This
damn
is,
it.
oh, absolutely. Way more connection to Shatner.
That's right.
We start with the music.
Yeah, man.
That Top Gun anthem. I'm literally hearing it in my head right at this very moment.
Harold Faltermeyer.
Harold Faltermeyer. So apparently he was like an engineer on Flashdance. And then he composed the music for Beverly Hills Cop.
Right.
And this is just a funny story about this anthem. So they give him the script. He reads the script. He's having dinner with Simpson and Bruckheimer. And he says, love the script. I already got the anthem for it. They're like, great, let's hear it. And what he meant was, I've got it in my head. I think I know what to do.
Oh, wow.
And he said, oh, well, yeah, maybe we'll get together next week and I'll play it for you. And they're like, no, let's hear it tonight. And he went, okay. So he goes home. He calls some musician friends, a guitar person, a drummer, a keyboard person. They record it that night, mix it. Simpson, Bruckheimer, and Tom Cruise show up at 1 a.m. that night.
What?
To hear the anthem for Top Gun,
Good God.
which they loved.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Musicians are musicians, man.
man, you got to crack. And I think he knew, which is like,
Yeah.
this is the job.
Yeah.
Like my job is now to get this thing done in this amount of time. We get a little text intro about Top Gun School and, where it came to established in the 60s to improve fighter pilot skills. And we go into the aircraft carrier. And I think the footage that was shot here, the slow motion, the smoke, the gradient filters, which makes it sort of darker on the top and lighter on the bottom, that is going to be the Simpson Bruckheimer look.
Oh yeah.
We see that in Con Air and Armageddon
Bad
and
Boys.
Bad
Yeah,
Boys.
all
This is so. I think Tony Scott is so important to who Bruckheimer and Simpson are going to be.
It's a very good point.
Whole style of movies. Which, by the way, the studio hated all this and said, you got to cut it out. We don't like all this slow motion. There's too much smoke. So what do they know?
Of course.
And then we go into, we don't usually talk about music so much at the beginning, but what song starts at the end of the anthem?
Danger Zone.
Danger Zone. Kenny Loggins.
Oh, dude, the soundtrack king of the 80s, Kenny Loggins.
Well, and we'll get into it later, but this is a big soundtrack in the era when there were soundtracks.
Oh my God.
Did you have the soundtrack?
Oh, of course. I had this on cassette. I bought it the next day. I went to the store and bought it on cassette and then later in CD.
I had it on cassette too. I listened to it over and over again.
Yeah.
And the guy who's mainly responsible is a guy named Giorgio Moroder.
Yep.
Yeah, and he is a big dude. I didn't know all of. I mean, I read he did Blondie and David Bowie and all sorts of huge music acts.
Yeah, and he still works. Now he did a couple of tracks on the Daft Punk album, the most recent Daft Punk album. Yeah, man, you got to listen to that. It's like a callback to 80s synth. It's fantastic.
And what I just found out is that Kenny Loggins wasn't supposed to do that song.
Oh shit, who was it?
Toto.
Good God. I'm very glad Toto. No offense to Toto. Toto does great music. But Danger Zone, no. Hells no.
They dropped out at the last minute,
Thank
and
God.
Kenny Loggins got the call. And he's like, yeah, I'll go do it.
So he didn't write it.
No.
Wow, he didn't write the lyrics or anything.
No, Moroder wrote it. He wrote the music. And then apparently his assistant who had been doing mechanical work around his house wrote the lyrics. And the same thing for Take My Breath Away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
This is very talented mechanic or whatever
I
it
think
was.
he went on to do more.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We're out, and then we have the takeoffs of the plane and the credits, and it's a really good montage.
It really walks you into the vibe of the movie, man.
Totally.
It's very much about the jets. It's very much about the planes, the fighter planes, all of that. And there's a respect for it from the beginning. There's a respect for that, for what they're doing and how many people are involved to make this work. And so I love that. And then just the shots just totally put you right in the mood.
how powerful and dangerous and actually serious all this is to really fun music about it. It does that really well. It balances that thing really well.
Flying into the danger zone.
We got some MiGs.
Yeah.
And we got Cougar and Merlin and Maverick and Goose going out to find these bogeys.
Call signs.
Yeah.
Great call signs. All through this movie.
Particularly Goose.
Oh, yeah.
Goose is perfect. It's so, they're great. You're right.
Yeah.
I always forget that it's Tim Robbins,
Yeah.
who is Merlin.
He's Merlin. Yeah. One of the first breaks.
Yeah. And I love too that we cut to the tower on the aircraft carrier, and we have who I always think of, and it's rude, but always think of as the poor man's Robert Duvall, is James Tolkien.
James Tolkien is great.
He's great, but doesn't he sound exact like if you close your eyes,
He
it's like
does.
Robert Duvall?
Right.
What the hell are they doing here? What's the position?
250 miles out, sir.
250 miles? Get him out of here.
If he was capable of a little more nuance or complexity to his roles, he could give Robert Duvall a run for his money.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And right away, Maverick is going to go head to head with one of the MiGs.
Yeah.
Cougar, I'm gonna go head to head with them.
Take it easy, Maverick. I don't like this shit.
Cocky kid, that Maverick.
Yeah, and we find out there are two MiGs, and we go into all this thing about a MiG-28. Nobody's been this close before,
Right.
And this stuff is filmed really, really well.
Oh, yeah, man.
It's amazing.
It's incredible.
And this is where, Simpson and Bruckheimer said, no, we are not doing special effects.
Yeah.
There are special effects in the movie, but we are going out with the real planes and really filming things. And these are the most, maybe since Howard Hughes did Wings, this is the most impressive aerial combat we've seen.
Well, and it's the reason the Navy said that their enrollment spiked after this movie because people saw this and were like, oh, I want to be part of these dogfights or part of this kind of stuff. And, not everyone gets to be a fighter pilot. So,
And something that's interesting, I was trying to think about, I wonder what I thought. Did I think they were going to fire on the MiGs when I first saw the movie?
Well, I don't know, were you aware of it? Because the Russian-U.S. relationship at the time it's a Cold War. So were you aware that if they fired on the MiGs?
I
something
remember,
would
I
happen?
think I was I don't know if I was the first time I saw it. I certainly was many times I saw it.
Right.
But the other thing that's interesting, they actually don't say these are the Russians.
No, they don't.
We don't know who they are.
MiGs are a Russian plane.
Right, but they
so,
sell them to other countries.
That's true. It's a good point.
I mean, I think in the symbols there's a star, but it's not really the Russian symbol.
Right.
I think they're kind of pulling away from that a little bit.
They're making it a safe situation.
But he locks his little missile on him and the guy bugs out.
Yeah.
He runs away. So we go, okay, we're going to try to scare them. We're kind of pushing up against the envelope, if you will.
Yeah.
To scare them.
Yeah.
And one of the other guys locks up on Cougar.
Yeah.
The MiG's in perfect firing position. He's right on Cougar's tail.
No way, Goose. He'd have fired by now. He's just trying to piss us off.
So they go, well, what can we do? We can't actually shoot him.
Right.
So what are we going to do? Maybe we'll scare him a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I can't shoot this son of a bitch. Let's see if we can have a little fun with him.
And this sequence is just great. They fly up inverted, like pretty much canopy to canopy, and flip him off. And then Goose has brought a Polaroid camera along and snaps a couple of pictures.
Watch the birdie.
Jeez, I cracked myself up.
Well, this is what's great about the film, Steve, as we're about to see. It has a great mix of fun and then serious shit going on.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic in that way. I think that's why I like the film. It's not just a throwaway film. It has some real definite dramatic, emotional moments happening throughout. Because, it's funny to take the Polaroid and the MiG bugs out. But then right afterwards, what
We're
happens?
into serious stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. By the way, I just have to say, and I'll probably say it 4 more times in the thing, I love Anthony Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
He steals every moment that he has something to do. He is amazing.
Yeah.
And he's really funny in this moment.
They're so young, dude. They're so young in this moment, man.
God.
Everyone.
And Maverick says he's heading back, and Cougar, come on, let's go back. And Cougar's not responding.
He's flipping out, man.
It's a big flip out.
Mm-hmm.
And
a panic attack, in essence, right?
That's exactly what's going on.
Yeah, looking at the pictures of his wife and family and stuff.
Yeah, and Merlin in the back going, "Hey, we gotta go. We're low on fuel." And Maverick comes up to the aircraft carrier. And by the way, this has been said before, but apparently landing a plane on an aircraft carrier is one of the hardest things that humans have ever done.
No surprise.
Yeah, and Maverick is about to land. And I love, by the way, that that they have to hook onto this cable.
Mm-hmm.
That's just amazing to me. And he is right down on the deck, about to land the plane, and then he hears Cougar's not coming back.
Yeah.
And he aborts the landing and heads back.
God damn it, Maverick.
What are you doing, man? We've got no fuel for this.
We're going after Cougar.
And honestly, Goose in the back, he's not happy either.
Right.
Like we can't make it.
Yeah, because those guys in the back of the planes are really at the will of the pilots.
Yep.
I don't know how. I've never flown in a fighter jet, but I don't know how much control the person in the back will have if the man in the front can't control the wheel or loses control, or something happens to him, he gets shot or a heart attack or whatever. I don't know.
I mean, the way the movie is structured, it seems to say that they can do nothing.
They can do nothing. Right?
Yeah. Because Merlin in the back with Cougar he's just sitting there.
Yeah.
And Maverick flies back and he talks Cougar down.
Any of you boys seen an aircraft carrier around here?
Man, if we get a little problem up here, that MiG really screwed him up. I don't think he can make it back.
You're okay, Cougar. Just stay on my wing. I'll take you all the way in. Just stay with me.
And it is a really tense, scary. I think it's a really well done sequence.
It's a great character building moment too, Steve, right? Because we see the cockiness of Maverick from the beginning, the smiling and all this with Goose, but then we see that he actually does care. He's got a good heart. He gets it. He guides Cougar down when maybe Iceman, who we're going to meet soon, wouldn't.
Nope.
But you see that Maverick does, because Maverick cares about this guy and knows, like, they're brothers, not in real life, obviously, but they're brothers in this fight.
But by the way, the Navy guys, in seeing this landing, there's that really shaky POV camera shot. They said, no way. That plane is never landing on an aircraft carrier.
Like that.
Yeah, no way. It's totally impossible. So Cougar goes to visit his CO and says, I'm out.
Yeah.
Gives up his wings. I got shook up. And I think this is a really important plant too, because it's something we're going to deal with later in the movie.
Yeah.
And this is that 80s structure. Like it's a very clear structure in this film. And then Maverick and Goose get called in.
Yeah.
And they have that great, this is a compliment / dressing down. What you did was brave. That's not what you should have done.
What you should have done was land your plane.
You don't own that plane, the taxpayers do. Son, your ego is writing checks your body can't cash. You've been busted. You lost your qualifications as section leader 3 times. Put in hack twice by me. With a history of high-speed passes over 5 air-controlled towers and 1 admiral's daughter.
So this is the thing. I think one of my things with this movie now is that I'm a teacher now.
Yeah.
And I deal with arrogant students doing stupid stuff all the time.
Steve?
Yeah.
I'm still a cocky son of a bitch.
And you're still a young cocky son of a bitch.
I'm still Maverick in my
So
mind.
I'm Viper and the guy who's and Jester and those people going, don't do that. I'm telling you not to do this.
Yeah. And I'm the one doing flybys.
Because when you look at hundreds of students going through, I haven't seen a student actually die.
Right.
But I have seen students' movies fall completely apart because they didn't fucking listen to me.
Yeah.
And so it's a part of me is like going where when I watched it the first time, I was Maverick.
Right.
And now I'm watching it going, oh, this fucking kid.
In other areas, I'm that, but like with this movie, I always go back to being the cocky because that's when, like I said, when I was starting to feel myself at 15 for the first time, like who I could be and all that kind of jazz. That's where my inner cockiness came from, was from watching movies like this. They kind of like I gravitated to it because I felt that way, and so it's nice to remember those days every once in a while.
Well, and that testosterone of youth,
sure.
And the thing is, envelope pushing is really important in life.
Yeah.
And people who push it so far, and you have to push it, and you don't know where the envelope breaks when you're pushing the envelope. That's the key.
That's true.
Very true. Some people push it, and it doesn't break. And that was the greatest thing that ever happened to them, the greatest thing they ever did. Right. And they're not aware of the other person who pushed it and the envelope broke and they died or got injured or their life was ruined by a thing, And when you get old, I mean, this is my theory you've heard my theory of why old people drive slow.
No.
Because when you're young, death is not really possible.
No.
And it's so fun. You go, I can do this.
Right.
And you don't actually really know what you can do. And the only way to discover what you can do is by going driving fast.
Exactly.
When you get old, all the shit has happened to you or to your friends. You know that you could slip on that, that wet ground right there and break your hip.
Right.
This could happen. You could lose all your money. Yeah. You couldn't make the wrong investment. You could get the wrong job. You could be in the wrong city. All these terrible things can happen. And so you're going to I'm not driving fast at all.
Right.
Death is around every corner. But those people can't explain to the young people. And of course they're driving too slow.
Right.
They're actually there's some balance between being aggressive and not being aggressive. And of course, that's the balance that Maverick's trying to find through this movie.
Yep.
And where he's going to find that balance is at Top Gun because Cougar dropped out. Now he and Goose are going to go off to Top Gun.
I got to do something here. I still can't believe it. I got to give you your dream shot. I'm going to send you up against the best. You two characters are going to Top Gun.
So this moment got them the thing that they always really wanted.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
And of course, what music comes back? Danger Zone.
Riding that bike.
Yep. Yeah. And this is those sexy Tom Cruise shots. And it's so funny thinking about who Tom Cruise became.
Yeah.
Because nobody up to that point would stay as the top hot young star for more than 3 or 4 years.
Right.
And
people forget Burt Reynolds in the late 70s, early 80s. He was the star.
Biggest star in the world.
Biggest star in the world.
And then not.
And then poof.
Sylvester Stallone was the biggest star in the world. And then not.
And then not.
Clint Eastwood is the biggest star in the world and then became who Clint Eastwood became.
Right.
Tom Cruise has not been the biggest star in the world consistently for the last 30 years.
Sure.
But there's a good 22 years out of those 30 where he was.
Yeah.
And he's about to go make Maverick right now.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, Mission Impossible. And he's still
doing it, man.
Still doing it.
People still come and watch his movies.
Yep. We go to our first briefing, and this is where we hear the origins of Top Gun, which is we had a great ratio of success in Korea and it went down in Vietnam. And we realized people were too dependent on equipment. They weren't trained in dogfighting. And that's what we're going to do now.
Yeah.
And who do we got talking to us about this?
Tom Scared.
Yeah. And Michael Ironside.
Yeah, Michael Ironside.
They're just both great.
Viper and Jester.
Yep.
Great call signs as well.
And, we kind of hear what this is going to be. We're going to have these different challenges. We're going to have this competition. And who does Maverick start noticing in the room?
The Iceman.
Val Kilmer.
Yeah, Val Kilmer.
He's like on another planet in this movie.
Dude, and remember, Val Kilmer's coming out of Top Secret. He's coming out of
Real
Genius.
Yep.
He's not been the cocky, swaggery guy. And Willow is 1 year later.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, I think 87 is Willow or 88. So it's a little bit after Top Gun. So he is himself mirroring the Tom Cruise ascent on a different way, a different way. And here he is as a perfect foil for Tom Cruise. And as we're talking about this, it was announced a couple of days ago that Val Kilmer is coming back to do Top Gun 2. I cannot effing wait to see.
And
Iceman
from
and
this
Maverick.
era, I love Val Kilmer.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know you're not a big Real Genius fan. I loved Real Genius. I love Top Secret.
Top Secret's great.
And seeing this was just amazing.
Yep.
He didn't want to do the movie.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to say this. If you haven't seen the behind the scenes, this great documentary that is on the special edition of Top Gun, it is 2.5 hours. Documentary.
Just watched it.
Yeah, it's incredible. They interview just about everybody involved in the film, and you hear some great stories from Val Kilmer. So yeah, I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
Yeah. One of which is that he showed up to his audition with a big black eye. Mm-hmm. And Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, they're immediately sizing each other up. You can see
In real life, you mean?
in the
film. Okay, yeah.
No, in real life, they avoided each other.
Yes.
They didn't want to be around each other.
Yep.
Well, the other young pilots were partying like crazy.
Yeah.
There's, you put a bunch of 20-year-old good-looking actors in a hotel in San Diego.
Yeah.
Enough said. And of course, now we're all speculating about who's going to be the best.
Yeah.
And he asked Tom Cruise, do you think your name's going to be on this plaque?
Yes, sir.
That's pretty arrogant, considering the company you're in.
Yes, sir.
I like that in a pilot. Just remember, when it's over out there, we're all on the same team. Gentlemen, this school is about combat. There are no points for second place.
That is not true about Top Gun, but is true about the movie Top Gun.
Now, do you think in this moment that Scarrett knows who Mitchell is, that he flew with his dad?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. So
of course he knows.
He's sizing him up as well.
Yeah.
See.
And this is something we didn't mention before, which is that there's something about Dad.
Yeah.
There are issues with his name, and we don't quite know what it is, but that's getting planted that there's something going on.
Yes.
And we have a little moment where Val makes a joke about the second place plaque is in the ladies' room, and then Goose cracks up.
Oh, you kill me. You really do.
Again, my second. I love Anthony Edwards.
He does.
And even
there's 2 O's in Goose, boys. 2 O's.
So funny. Mm-hmm. Off to the bar.
Yeah, man.
We got our dress whites on.
Did you notice it says Animal Night? What does Animal Night mean?
I don't know.
I don't know what that means.
Don't know.
Maybe someone can enlighten us. I noticed it this time.
It's funny. I always thought this, but didn't get it confirmed until I watched that documentary that you mentioned. They wouldn't be in their dress whites.
At a bar?
At a bar. They'd be in their khakis. This is not the correct.
Those are for formal ceremonies.
Those are serious things.
It's like, yeah.
But in many, we should say, Top Gun, accuracy is not number one.
I don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
I didn't think you would.
No, I'm saying I don't want it to be. I want it to be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we get some bet that Tom Cruise has got to, have carnal knowledge on the premises.
That's right.
That'd be a $20 bet.
Of a woman this time.
Which is funny. It's some more little banter with Iceman and Rick Rossovich's character, who is Slider. And there's some jokes.
It's men stuff. It's cocky young men stuff, right? It's dick measuring, for lack of a better term.
Literally, one of the jokes is about dick measuring.
Yeah, exactly. So they do all of that because that's what happens. When I was in the military at 19 years old, that's what we did.
Sure.
It's all of that standard stuff in growing up.
And we get a little bit that Iceman knew Cougar.
Yes.
And already around the Cougar thing, there's a little bit of tension.
Right.
That's going to come up later.
Well, and they're both kind of defending their separate relationships with Cougar.
Yeah.
Because Iceman says...
Sorry to hear about Cougar. He and I were like brothers in flight school. He was a good man.
Still is a good man.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Well, and I think that Iceman thinks that what happened to Cougar is Maverick's fault.
Yes. Because he knows Maverick's reputation.
Right.
Flyers talk.
Right.
And he knows Maverick's reputation, yeah.
Then we spot Kelly McGillis.
Mm-hmm.
She was coming right off of Witness.
Oh, yeah.
Which is a movie I love. I haven't seen it in a really long time, but I watched it.
Still holds up, brother.
Yeah, I really want to see it. And what does Maverick suggest to Goose?
Well, she's lost that love and feeling, man.
Oh, I hate it when she does that.
By the way, I totally pulled this stunt.
Really?
In Model UN at Richmond, Virginia, in the mall there.
Model UN.
I remember, because I love this movie.
I know.
So I'm like Scott Mance about this movie. It's the greatest movie ever. So there was something going on in the middle of the food court with mics, and people were performing, and it was like an open mic in the middle of a food court, random. So I talked to the guy, and there was this cute girl who had a thing. Like when you went to Model UNs, like you would spot the ones you were attracted to.
I remember Model UN.
Yeah, and you find them.
I had a slow dance in Model UN with Bradley Brockman.
Whoa.
That I will never forget.
But Model UN was the best. It's not just a bunch of nerdy kids like talking politics. There are some cute girls who are in Model UN, and I remember
You heard it here first, folks. Model UN, not just for nerds.
It's a target-rich environment, let me tell you. So, but there was a cute girl there, and I remember it was a third night of the 4-night conference we were doing, or 4-day conference we were doing, and I convinced these people that I could sing, and I'm a terrible singer.
You're not a terrible singer.
Oh, stop it! I'm terrible. I got up there compared to everybody else. I know I'm really bad, and so I got up there and I said, "Hey everyone, I don't know if you know this, but that girl over there, she's lost that loving feeling." And then I just started singing it for like a minute. And then the girl was horrified. And
did anyone join in with the badooms?
Yeah, a couple of people in the back were joined. A couple of the adults joined in a little bit, but then I kind of got scared and then ran off because she didn't respond. Like I was hoping she'd be like, "Oh wow, this is amazing."
Wow.
Yeah, I used to do bold shit, man. For
That's
better or worse.
amazing.
Yeah, for
That
better
is
or worse.
amazing.
I used to do bold stuff like that. I was never
By the way, I love the moment when they start. He says,
Yeah.
"Excuse me, miss," and then I'll take care of this. And then I love that he turns his back.
Yeah.
And then they have this move that I can't really describe.
It's a choreographed move.
When it's choreographed, and it's beautiful when Tom Cruise goes into it.
You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips.
There's no tenderness like before in your fingertips.
You're trying hard not to show it, baby. But baby, believe me, I know that you've lost that love and feeling. Whoa, that love and feeling. You've lost that love and feeling. Now it's gone, gone, gone. Whoa.
I love this scene so much. I think it is so funny.
Yeah.
And I love too that apparently everyone at Miramar knows what this thing is because they don't just join in like a little bit. They all go, "This has gone on before."
They're big Righteous Brothers fans, apparently.
Well, who is it? The Righteous Brothers are amazing.
Fair enough.
It ends.
Hollywood takes over, or Sundown takes over.
Right.
The black guy, yeah, with the sunglasses.
Yeah, the black guy named Sundown.
Isn't it Sundown?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something about that name doesn't seem...
Well, it is dark when the sun goes down.
That's
not a negative.
Sure. He sits down. She says she loves the song. And, he introduces herself, Charlotte Blackwood. His name's Maverick. Your parents must have hated you. And he goes, "No, I'm a pilot. It's a call sign." Or he says, he says he's a naval aviator.
Naval aviator.
I should say that correctly. And she asks how many times he's done this. The answer is twice.
Oh, how'd you do?
Crashed and burned on the first one. It wasn't pretty.
The second?
I don't know. I'll tell you tomorrow, but it's looking good so far.
It is really cute.
Yeah.
And then this guy walks in to talk to her.
Mm-hmm.
That guy's Peter Pettigrew. That's Viper.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense. Viper always messing up his game. Viper's always messing up Maverick's game.
Yep. And goes away, and man, he's crashing and burn again. Can I get a beer for this flame out?
Really great. Like, once again, right? They're always undercutting. This is what's great about the film. Maverick is cocky, but he's always being undercut by things that are happening.
As he should be.
Right.
Because he's an asshole.
Well, yes, but he's never a full hero. Like, that's the thing that I really enjoy about the movie. He's not just...
No, he is a flawed character.
Yes, and I love
Absolutely.
And I
no
love
question about it.
Because he's on a journey. He's on his own journey as a young man, kind of maturing in this throughout this whole movie. And this woman is older than him.
Yeah.
And so he's not going to be able to pull his sophomoric moves on a woman of age. Like he can't on a mature woman, I would say.
Yes, he can, because it works perfectly.
Well, it does eventually, but not initially.
It's not even that eventually.
Not initially.
It's pretty soon. She's gonna
Stop
take
it,
it pretty
you.
soon.
Stop it, you.
And he does not like that she's with this older guy.
No.
Which, by the way, I don't think they're on a date.
No.
It does. He shows up with like
they're colleagues.
Yeah, they're colleagues.
Yeah.
She heads to the ladies'
But
room.
why are they there at Animal Night? I wonder.
Why are they wearing their dress whites?
That's true. Fair.
There's a lot. Why There's a lot of Y's in here.
really
They're
are.
a little bit weird.
Yeah, you know what's strange, Steve? And I know watching this movie with the Cine-Files mindset was so different. Was so different. I was forced to notice shit I wouldn't notice before. Anyway.
There are a few things. But this is the thing. I totally enjoyed watching.
Oh, yeah, of course.
You know what's funny?
Thoroughly.
We had our Q&A a few weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
And one of the questions was, what do you forgive in movies?
Yeah.
And this is one where it's like, this is a totally enjoyable movie, and there are things that don't quite work in my mind.
I don't disagree.
But that doesn't, you're not watching, we don't watch every movie for the perfectly tight whatever of script and plot and dialogue. And
sure.
That's not why we're here for, we're here for guns and Tom Cruise and motorcycles and cool music. And that's why we're here.
Fighter planes.
And fighter planes. So she heads off to the ladies' room. He follows her into the ladies' room.
That I've never done. So, but that's an interesting tactic.
And her response is great. What do you want to do? Just drop down on the floor here? Or
she is undercutting him the whole time.
Oh,
And
yeah.
his young machismo, his young bravado, she is just cutting him off at the knees every single time.
Yeah, and he keeps pushing it, and she's got to be at work.
Mm-hmm.
I love that when she exits and she walks by Goose, she says, your friend was magnificent.
No.
And now we have our next briefing.
Mm-hmm.
This is full Bruckheimer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
We're in a hangar.
Mm-hmm.
There's a huge American flag.
Mm-hmm.
The lighting, everything about this is just, we're going to see this over and over again.
Yeah, and
go to Armageddon, go to all these movies. You're going to see this kind of thing.
And Eagle Eye viewers will notice Adrian Pasdar sitting right behind Anthony Edwards there in the lineup of students sitting there.
So one of the naval guys, they're going to shoot, and he gets his call sheet, and he comes up right when they're starting to set up first thing in the morning. They're like, he goes, what are we doing here? And they say, oh, we're setting up for the classroom briefing. He's like, yeah, but the classroom's right over there. We have a classroom. It's right there. And they go, no. And he goes, no, we would never. Why would we meet here? This is the middle of an airplane hangar. Two things in, like, no, don't worry about it. Shh.
You're getting paid.
Well, and what was funny too, because what Pettigrew said throughout is like, this is entirely wrong. It totally worked in the movie. I was wrong.
Yeah.
And this scene looks awesome.
It really does.
Realism, as much as I care about realism, is not that important.
No.
They start talking about, we have a civilian contractor. Code name is Charlie. She apparently has a degree in astrophysics, which has nothing to do with anything having to do with fighter jets, but okay.
What I'm saying is she's a smart woman.
Apparently, there was a huge debate about how much to make her up. When Tony Scott first started costuming her and doing makeup, she was full sexy. And it came back from the studio and from Simpson and Bruckheimer. It's like, you dressed her like a whore.
You're right.
And they debated of how sexy should this civilian person coming into these military world, and there's some outfits. She looks great.
Yeah.
But there's some outfits where it's like, wow. Only if you think about it.
Right.
If you don't think about it, it's all great.
But even in the first shot, though, she's wearing in the club, she's wearing a polo and jeans and a pullover sweater, or a sweater with the. So it's not like a sexy outfit necessarily. It's very kind of a mom outfit, to be honest with you.
It's more the stuff that she's wearing with the leather jackets and the, where you kind of go like, what's with these clothes?
Yeah.
And she comes in and she's immediately talking about MiG-28s.
And she's introduced in a very sexy way. You see
the legs,
the stockings with the seam on the back of them, and the tight skirt, and the hair done, and the glass, all of it just very sexy.
And I love to, it's like as soon as she starts walking in, we know
those pumps
what's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
We know who this is going to be. And she's talking about the MiGs and that they have problems in a 4G and we can't really do that.
Yes, ma'am, the data on the MiG is inaccurate.
How's that, Lieutenant?
Well, I just happened to see a MiG-28
Sorry, Goose. We happened to see a MiG-28 do a 4G negative dive.
Where did you see this?
That's classified.
It's what?
It's classified. I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Lieutenant, I have top secret clearance. The Pentagon sees to it that I know more than you.
Oh, ma'am, it doesn't seem so in this case now, does it?
So, Lieutenant, where exactly were you?
Well,
Thank you. Started up on his 6 when he pulled through the clouds, and then I moved in above him.
Well, if you were directly above him, how could you see him?
Because I was inverted.
Bullshit.
Bullshit.
The bullshit apparently is improvised.
Oh, not a surprise.
Yeah.
Not a,
Of course, she has top secret clearance. So now this is weird.
Yeah.
She has top secret clearance. Does every other pilot in this area have top secret clearance?
no, I don't think so.
So how is she saying, go ahead and tell me?
Yeah.
Well, and this whole thing of I really need to know about what you know about this MiG for my career, which is a whole plot point. It doesn't hold a whole lot of water. It's like, really? Like, well, then just ask him about
Which
it.
he says. You could have just asked me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love the jokes between them are just great.
Oh, yeah.
What were you doing there?
Communicating. Keeping up foreign relations. I was, giving him the bird.
You know, the finger.
Yes, I know the finger, Goose.
I'm sorry. I hate it when it does that. I'm sorry.
Again, I love Anthony Edwards.
Diplomatic relations.
It's great. It's really funny. And it ends with her going, "You're the one." Yes, ma'am.
That's a great moment, right?
It is a great moment.
You're the one in more ways than one.
Well, and we cannot, we could have a whole extra little Cine-Files Patreon discussion of Tom Cruise's smile.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
I mean, it is powerful.
Yeah.
It is a powerful and dangerous smile because there's something not trustworthy about it. And that is part of,
but that's part of the gift.
Oh yeah.
It's 90% trustworthy, and that 10% of like, I don't know, but it intrigues you.
I'd only give it 80% trustworthy.
What?
Yeah.
How dare you?
Well, I don't think I'm being offensive in you're calculating my percentage of Tom Cruise's smile trustworthiness.
Fair enough.
Well, and it's like that element of Tom Cruise that is throughout his whole career is charming and charismatic and interesting and something dangerous about him.
And cocky.
Having
to learn a lesson. Yes.
Yep. That is, he's a good actor, but he is Tom Cruise.
Yep.
There's this nice moment after where she asks him, "Why didn't you tell me?" What is she asking him right now?
Yeah. Why didn't you tell me about in the bar?
You think that she's asking, why did you not tell me about why didn't you tell a strange woman who you don't know has anything to do with fighter jets
Fair point.
about the top secret encounter you had around a MiG-28?
Yeah.
While you were trying to seduce her to sleep with her?
Well, she did say what she did, right? She did say she's a trainer, blah, blah, blah. Isn't she say that when they have the meeting in the bathroom? That she says, I'm a
She
instructor.
says I have to go to work.
Yeah,
but he doesn't know that she's an instructor when she walks in.
Right, because when she walks in, he's like, oh, and then Goose puts on his sunglasses to hide his face, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so
the question of why did you tell me is
a very good question.
Makes no sense.
Right. But he says, would it have made any difference? Not in the ladies' room.
Right. Because that's going to be your next line. It's like I sing, you've lost that love and feeling, and then I tell you about my encounter with a MiG.
By the way, babe, I was upside down with a MiG.
4G inverted dive.
4G inverted dive.
2 meters. Goose has pictures.
Yeah, right. Now can we have sex?
By the way, anyone who's come to me with that story, I have had sex with.
Hey-oh.
Yeah.
There it is.
And then she says, I really want to know about this stuff. And he goes, you got security clearance? Read about it.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's how you flirt, man. You don't give it all away at once.
Iceman is waiting for him.
Yeah.
Maverick. I'm curious. Who was covering Cougar while you were showboating with this MiG? Cougar was doing just fine. Uh-huh.
Yeah. Once again, the swagger, the cockiness. Someone comes in to undercut him. Just when he's having a really good moment, someone's always coming in to undercut him. It's a secret of the movie.
Absolutely. There's no question about it. Well, because this is a movie about a person who has to learn a lesson.
Yes. But
absolutely.
we connect to him too because we've been flawed. We know we have our flaws. We've made mistakes, and we also have moments of like feeling like you're king of the world, and then someone comes along so we can relate to him.
Yep.
You know?
It's time for our first hop.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, this is your first hop. The jets you are flying against are smaller, faster, and more maneuverable, just like the enemy MiGs. The clock is ticking, and as of now, we are keeping score.
I love all this stuff.
Oh yeah, and Ironside's voice is so perfect.
He's
for
great.
This.
And that's who they're flying against. They're flying against Jester.
Yeah.
I love that they say, we got this 10,000 foot deck, which means you're not supposed to go below 10,000 feet. Throughout the entire sequence, they're flying right over mountains, like, clearly no dad. And there's a technical reason for this, which is that the way they filmed a lot of it was they put a camera rig on the top of a mountain. So the planes had to fly right by the mountains in order to be filmed. There's no stable camera rig you can put, 15,000 feet up in the air to do. And the other thing is that having the ground and mountains gives a sense of speed and danger.
Yes.
And location and direction, up, down.
And size.
Yeah. And so we're not really paying attention to that.
Yeah.
And this is a great little dogfight.
Oh,
between
yeah.
the two of them. Trying to get to Jester, surprising him with a great brake move. I'm going to bring it in close and slam on the brakes. He'll fly right by. That's one of the coolest moves in the thing.
Yeah.
Those are great. And then he starts diving.
I got you now. Woo! Jester's dead. Jester's dead. Yeehaw!
Jester cheated too, though.
How did Jester cheat?
Well, he went below the deck. They followed him below the deck.
Well, this is what's interesting. This is what's a little vague about the movie. Yeah. He says, I said I lost him and called off the thing. That's what he says when he's reporting to Viper later on. But we didn't hear that. So I think you're right. I think Jester did cheat him.
That bastard cheated.
Yeah. Because Maverick is really, really good.
Yes, he is.
Yeah. And in fact, he's so good and he's so cocky. What does he want to do after defeating Jester?
Wants to run a flyby on the tower.
Yeah.
That's right.
I don't exactly know what a flyby.
What do you need to know, Steve?
Well, I don't understand why is this a thing?
He has to buzz the tower, son.
No, I understand what buzzing the tower is. What I don't understand is when you call down for permission and say, hey, I request a flyby.
Right.
Do people request flybys?
I don't know. I'm not a naval
That's what I don't understand. Like, what is this thing?
I'm sure they do. What did Pettigrew say? Did he say anything about that?
So what they did say is that nobody had ever buzzed the tower at Miramar.
Oh.
And all the pilots they were working with, because that's where they're really shooting. They're shooting real Top Gun. They're shooting where they do it. All the pilots really wanted to be the person to do it. And it's not Viper. It's one of the other guys whose name I don't remember that got to finally do it. And it was like a cool moment.
I bet.
And they called down and said, can we do a flyby? No, you cannot.
Right.
And Goose is saying...
No, Mav, this is not a good idea.
Sorry, Goose, but it's time to buzz the tower.
I thought a lot about Goose's relationship to Maverick watching it this time.
Okay.
It just seemed... Because when I was a kid, it was... They're brothers. They love each other. Goose is more conservative. He's bothered by some of the choices that Maverick makes, but he really, really loves him. And I still think he loves him.
Yeah.
But watching it this time, I was like, man, it's really a problem. Like, this guy is a real problem for Goose.
Oh, yeah. Well, right. Because,
I mean, not even getting to the point where Goose dies.
No.
But this guy's a problem.
But remember, these are young guys, too. And Goose kind of idolizes Maverick because Maverick takes chances that Goose doesn't.
Yes.
And sometimes you have, like, my best friend, Maurice, is one of the most, I don't mean conservative politically, I mean conservative as a human being. He's very, very devoted family man, religious Catholic guy, but he lives vicariously through my adventures and my stories.
I have that too.
Right.
I mean, because tend to be more conservative.
Yes.
And there are people who my friend Jeff was more like the Maverick, and he would take me to places that I probably wouldn't have gone on my own.
Without,
but was really happy that I'd been there. And there were also times where it's like, dude, this is a bad choice.
We're going to die.
Yeah, let's not do this.
Yeah, but I think he admires Maverick. But he also feels sympathy for Maverick because of the stuff with his dad. And that's what keeps him connected because he knows Maverick's heart's in the right place, but he's got this desire to prove himself and push the boundaries.
He loves him, but I will contend, and I don't know, but that there is a moment in this movie where he kind of wants to break up with him.
Yeah.
He's real close.
It's right before the terrible thing happened.
But right now we buzz the tower. The guy spills coffee on himself.
God damn it.
Which is funny. We're back in the locker room. We're really celebrating because Jester's dead. We find out that Iceman won as well. And now we start to hear like, it was below the hard deck. You does not count. And he confronts Iceman. What's your problem?
What's your problem, Kazansky?
What's your problem, Kazansky?
You're everyone's problem. That's because every time you go up in the air, you're unsafe. I don't like you because you're dangerous.
That's right. Ice. Man, I am dangerous.
That's right. Ice, man, I am dangerous.
And then that bite.
Let's talk. How can I say this correctly? I want to say this correctly. There's homosexual overtones in this relationship.
Are you saying there's a homoerotic subtext in Top Gun?
Yes. And Quentin, I thought of it before you did, so I'm glad you wrote a whole thesis paper about it.
So apparently Top Gun was on the cover of some gay, not porn magazine, but like a really racy magazine is their pick of the year.
Yeah.
I mean, look, this movie is what it is. We haven't even gotten to the volleyball scene.
There's homoerotic overtones. Just that thing where they're that close and he's like biting. He's trying to castrate him.
And there's a lot of guys sitting around in the locker room in their towels and tidy whities, hanging out in a way that I've never hung out in a locker room.
Really? Oh, well, you've never been in the military. That happens.
Okay. I've never been in the military.
Yeah, there's, when you come back from showers, you're all in the barracks, sitting around in the main area. No, I don't mean the main area watching TV. I mean in your room,
right,
on your bed in your towel.
Got to go talk to Viper.
Yes.
First thing we get is the guy from the tower yelling about about the coffee and getting more, and then he walks out and he gets more coffee spilled on him, and his line again is, "I want some butts."
I want some butts. Speaking of homoerotic overtones, anyway,
And now we go in to meet with Viper, and they lay it out. The deck was 10,000 feet, and his explanation is, I had him before the deck, then he went below, and I had the shot, so I took it.
You took it. And broke a major rule of engagement. Then you broke another one with that circus stunt flyby. Lieutenant Mitchell, Top Gun rules of engagement exist for your safety and for that of your team. They are not flexible, nor am I. Either obey them or you are history. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Again, this is where I go, I'm the teacher. I literally had a student just last semester.
Yeah.
He's 17 years old, talented.
Sure.
And continually broke the rules of the school. I failed him on one assignment because he did stunts when you're not supposed to have stunts. Because it's against the rules, because people have died at film school.
Yep.
And he said, your rules are keeping me from my art. And then,
Steve, your rules are keeping me from my art.
What it is. That's exactly what it is.
Mr. Morris.
And then he started insulting the school. And he literally wrote me, I'm a filmmaker, not a film student.
Ooh.
This school is trying to keep me down.
Yes.
These are the things he's saying to me. And he's 17 years old. And it was so, and I spent all semester stressed out trying to help this guy, trying to go like, look, I'm just asking you to do this.
Right.
You do this and you could still pass the class, but you have to follow these rules and do this the right way. And he wouldn't do it and continue. And then he had, he wanted to shoot things with people getting stabbed by knives. I'm like, no, you can't do this. This is your first semester. You can't do that till later.
Right.
And so like watching this now, it's like, I'm Viper because I see that people are going to die.
Yeah.
And that the truth is that did Maverick go back and save Cougar? He did.
Right.
Could he just as well have killed him and Goose?
Yes.
Because they run out of fuel. And it's funny. It relates a lot to what we talked about in Armageddon with AJ.
Yeah.
Is that AJ's like, I know I can push it. And the Bruckheimer people love faith in yourself.
Oh, yeah.
That is just a huge theme throughout a lot of their films, is this idea of pushing the envelope and believing in yourself and doing the impossible. And it is totally dramatic, and I totally get why it works in movies, and it's not what I would have my students do. We walk out. What does Goose say?
Really enjoyed that, Mav. Thanks a lot. Holy shit. Maybe I could learn how to be a truck driver. Mav, you have the number of that truck driving school we saw on TV, Truckmaster, I think it is? I might need that.
I love Anthony Edwards.
He's so good in this movie.
So damn funny.
And I would argue the movie doesn't work without him.
I 100%.
No way the movie works
I don't
without
think, because he is the heart of the film.
Yep.
If you take him out, then you just have this not terribly likable Maverick guy.
Right.
Because Goose loves Maverick, we can love Maverick.
He humanizes him.
Absolutely.
Yep.
We get a little moment, though, with Jester and Viper, and he asks the key question, which is, would you fly with him? Would you go to war with this guy?
And I love that he says, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just don't know. And that should be where we're at in this movie. He's the audience for us in that moment.
Absolutely. Later that night, Goose comes to talk to Maverick.
Great scene.
You know, when I first realized that going to Top Gun, all I could think about was getting that trophy. I gotta be straight with you, Mav. Right now, I just hope we graduate. I got a family to think about. I can't afford to blow this.
I guess that flyby wasn't such a big hit, huh?
You think?
Yeah.
Think this wasn't?
Yeah, but at least he's learning, right? He's got to push the boundaries and learn. And
I don't think he's learning right now.
Well, in that
I really
moment,
don't.
I think he's not gonna. He would never buzz again after that, and because what Goose.
Wait, he would never buzz again?
I don't think he'd buzz again until when he does later in the movie. There's a reason for it, but he wouldn't buzz again after this because how it affected Goose. He loves Goose too, and he's the only family. Goose's the only family that he has because his mom's dead, his dad is dead, which we find out a little bit later. But his mom is dead as well. So Goose, I think, is the only family he has. And so when he says that to him, he's like, "I've got a family of things to think about." I think that's when Maverick goes, "You're right. I should stupid. It was stupid." You know, and he knows. He's a young guy. He knows.
Well, I want to separate two things out. The first thing is everything you said is exactly right. That is how he feels. Goose is that important to him. He does think like, yeah, you're right. That was stupid. Right. I don't think he has learned a lesson yet because I don't think this is going to make him change. I'm not saying he's going to buzz the tower again. Right. But we're going to see more behavior from him throughout.
Of course.
Is that because when he says, you're the only family I've got, I'm not going to let you down. I promise you. Yeah. That's not true. He is going to let him down. Because he hasn't learned his lesson yet.
Well,
and by the way, that's not I'm not criticizing the movie.
No.
Is that how many times have you had a friend who did a thing and you finally went to them and went, dude, you did this thing, you hurt me or you hurt yourself or you made this mistake, and the friend goes, man, you're right. It's never going to happen again.
That's true.
And how often does that friend actually have it never happen again?
Yeah.
I mean, we it's hard for us to change.
That's true.
Even and I'm talking about myself. I mean, intellectually acknowledging, oh, you did that thing again.
Yeah.
I mean, how many times have you had the thought, oh, I did that thing again?
Yeah, sure.
Man, I remember, so like procrastination was always a thing with me, not as much now.
Yeah.
But I remember this time trying to write my first play, and I was wandering around the streets of Walnut Creek, and I suddenly went, shit, I blew the whole day. You know, like I was supposed to, this was my day to write and I didn't write. And I remember 20 years later, that was when I was 18, 19. Yeah. 20 years later, I'm in my 30s and I went, man, I blew the whole day. And I remember, and then I could picture myself exactly where I was in Walnut Creek at 19 when I had that thought. Right. And I went, fuck, I did it again. I haven't changed.
Well, no, it's not that you haven't changed.
And I have changed, of course. I have changed.
It's a progression.
I mean, the guy that prepares for the episodes that we do the way I prepare, I didn't prepare for anything when I was 18.
Gotcha.
You know, I mean, that I have totally changed.
Right.
But I'm still the same.
Yes.
You know? Oh, and yeah, and he says, but the thing is, he says, I promise you, and then that smile.
Yeah.
That I'm not going to debate the percentages with you. That smile that's not 100% trustworthy.
The killer smile.
Now we're doing some I guess paperwork and reviewing our maneuvers, and Kelly McGillis is kind of discussing a particular maneuver with you, and I think that what you did is too aggressive.
Too aggressive. Yeah, I guess when I see something, I go right after it.
And then he confronts her. You didn't tell me who you were.
Right.
To which she responds, you deserved it, which I completely agree.
Yeah.
He did deserve it. But he's like, no, you were tempted to ask me to dinner.
Yeah.
No, I don't date students. And of course, Slider is, overhearing all of this.
Even though he has headphones on.
Yeah.
That dirty bastard.
Well, have you ever had something weird going on and you turned your headphones down?
Of course.
I've been like at a Starbucks or something and like just listening to my book, and then I see, something interesting at the next table. What's happening over there?
Yeah, when I was working at Universal, we're all in that break room.
Oh, sure.
I would turn my headphones down when stuff was going down between people and just to hear what was happening. They never had any clue because I just kept my eyes closed.
Of course.
All the time, but I was listening. I'm always listening, brother.
Wait, really?
That's the military thing. I'm always listening, whatever room I'm in.
I'm going to just walk right by that. I love his he gestures her closer. If the government trusts me, then maybe you could.
Right.
He's a bad person. Her response is it takes a lot more than fancy flying. And at the moment that she's doing that, she's writing down her address.
For dinner.
Yeah.
That she's going to cook.
Yeah. Well, and this is where you said like how much it takes to break down her defenses. Not much.
Well, this is also weeks after that first encounter, so it's been building through this whole time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they weren't flying through hops the next day. I mean, it's like It takes time to build everything and set it up. So this has been going on for a little bit. But the crux of this, Steve, is why is she willing to risk her career to like start a thing with a student?
Because it's Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I mean, that, it's like because what's weird about this movie, and this is why the Tony Scott dressing her up in super sexy ways and then how sexy she's going to be is this weird. I'm not saying it's Denise Richards in that Bond movie where she's supposed to be but there's this weird sort of, we want her to be a serious scientific, advisor. And yet at the same time, we're going to dress her really sexy and we're going to basically have her not be that professional at all and just be really into this young pilot. It is what it is.
But it doesn't. But I don't think she ever loses her credibility in that way. Like she has a relationship with him, but when she's like talking about the stuff she's talking about, she's very knowledgeable.
I agree.
She exudes intelligence and
I like Kelly McGillis
composition.
a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, she had not much of a career really.
She's very self-composed, but none of her career on film.
Yeah,
she's very established in Shakespeare community in DC and
really?
numerous places. Yes, she's
didn't know that.
very well established in Shakespeare.
What's your favorite sport?
Volleyball, baby.
Let's go! Okay, I get.
I love volleyball.
Without my shirt on, apparently.
Maybe oil you up a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little homoerotica going on there.
Some posing. Anthony Edwards has his shirt on.
You're right, he does. You know why? Because he's married.
Yes, because he's and he doesn't have to pose for the other men.
He's already settled in. He's got somebody.
There's so much macho-ness going on in this scene.
He has a child.
And one more thing I should say.
Yeah.
The song is Kenny Loggins again playing with the boys.
Playing with the boys.
Enough said. See, by the way, here's how they did the music. So we've talked about how some of the music got made.
Yeah.
Is apparently they went, we need some great songs. So they basically did a cattle call with musicians, and they did screenings where they invited 200 musicians to watch the movie and say, come up with songs for this.
Wow.
And Kenny Loggins went, you know what? I'm not going to try to do a big love theme. I'm not going to do an action scene. I'm going to try to score the volleyball scene. And that is why he wrote Playing with the Boys.
Wow.
And it's because of Playing with the Boys that they called him when Toto dropped out to do Danger Zone.
There we go.
So he used the beautiful mind, don't go for the number one slot, too much competition, go for one of the smaller ones, and that worked for him. We win the game. I think we're ready to finally have the championship, but Maverick's got to go.
Yeah, because it said 5:30 p.m. sharp.
Yep.
He's late.
Motorcycle ride off to the date, and we hear Take My Breath Away.
Great song, man.
It is. Berlin. Also written by Giorgio Moroder and his assistant guy.
Yeah.
And they had a competition between Berlin and some other artists to see who would do it, and Berlin won.
Ooh, maybe it was Missing Persons or something.
I don't know who it was. And this was a huge song for them.
Yeah, man.
Huge. Also won the Oscar.
They still perform it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And knocks on the door, no answer. Jumps over the fence and finds her around back, apologizes for being late. No apologies.
And then that cocky son of a bitch tries to take a shower, which would delay dinner longer. And she's like, oh, no. We're eating.
Well, and it's also like coming to what may or may not be a date and ask. There's something very intimate about, can I go get naked in your shower right now? That is like aggressive.
But there's also something disrespectful about showing up to the date sweating from volleyball.
Yeah, absolutely. The whole thing is disrespectful.
Yeah.
But we have a nice meal. And she kind of tries to play the, well, why don't you just tell them why you're here? It's because of the MIG. I need a promotion. I need to hear a story, which doesn't hold a whole lot. Now, my question is it that the character's story is bullshit because she really wants to have sex with a guy? Or is it that the script thought this was a good story, but I don't really think it is?
I think it's like humans. It's complex. It's more like she has to get this information, or she wants to get this information from him, but she also is attracted to him because she sees more than just the cockiness. There's something beneath the cockiness, especially when they're having the conversations about the MIG. The way he speaks about it, he's aware of it and he understands what happened. So there's a certain level of young intelligence there that she likes. And so at least that's what I like interpret.
I wish there was a moment where we really saw more of a connection because or saw some other side of him. Well, no, before this is what I'm saying.
Before the sex.
Is that before she writes him the note.
Oh,
because I just don't feel like there's been enough for her to, she's seen the arrogant, cocky guy.
Yeah.
And I wish you say she sees this other side of him, but I haven't seen her see the other side of him. I wish there was some moment, or maybe it's just that he's just the best damn pilot, but something else to make her, I feel that the writing the note isn't earned as much as it should be.
Fair enough.
But this scene about dinner, particularly when Dock of the Bay comes on, which is one of my all-time favorite songs.
It's a great song.
And you do see it. I think you do see he's talking about his mom and how much she loved this song, and then she died, and then Dad died right after that.
Yeah.
He disappeared in an F4, November 5th, 1965. The stink of it was he screwed up. No way. My old man was a great fighter pilot.
It's a great moment, Steve, because of the way it's framed, too. if we can take a moment, like she's lying on the couch and they're both looking away from each other. They're looking at something, right? And he's lost in his thought process. And so it occurred to me this time, once again, watching it as a cinephile, like, well, if his mom died and his dad died young, who raised him?
Well, because if dad died in 65, and this
and
is
mom
80,
died shortly after.
Well, and also this is where, so sometimes in movies you have to do math.
Yeah, you do.
And I don't think they did it, because if dad died in 65.
Was it 65 or was it 75?
65.
Okay.
That's what it's, I mean, that's what's in my notes.
So I'm gonna go with that because you're a great researcher.
I think it's 65, and this is 85. So dad died 20 years ago. How old's Tom Cruise supposed to be here?
Right.
25?
No, because that picture of him with his dad, he looks like he's 8 years old.
Yeah. So this doesn't quite make a lot of sense.
So who raised him? I just want to know who raised him.
Yeah.
His grandparents, maybe.
Oh, that's a good question. And then we kind of get into like the somebody must know, the mystery about dad.
Yeah.
And then she says something which is so intense.
Is that why you're always second best up there?
Oof. You are direct, aren't you?
Yeah. I don't know that we've ever seen him be. What does that mean to always be second best up there?
Well, he's been second best to Iceman since the beginning.
I guess.
So she's saying that. You take chances that you shouldn't take. You push boundaries that you shouldn't push. That's why you're second best up there, because you're trying to prove something. You're trying to not do what everyone else is doing.
It's a good line. It's a good line. And then he kind of says, I'm sorry I was late. She says, I'm sorry for being direct. And again, no apologies. This is going to be complicated.
Yeah, man.
So they've already sort of said this is going to go on. And he gets up. She says, where are you going? I'm going to take a shower.
Yeah.
I think when I first saw it, I thought he was going to go take a shower in her place so they can have sex.
No.
That is not what's happening. He is leaving, which, by the way, that is a good move.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Always leave him wanting more.
And then he gives her the smile.
Yeah, man.
And thank you. I enjoyed being here.
Great thing to say.
By the way, all this discussion of a MiG-28, there's no such thing as a MiG-28. There's a MiG-29.
Yes.
There's a bunch of different MiGs, but there's no MiG-28.
It's their way out of it. It's their way out of it, yeah.
So we're at an elevator. Here's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
They did screenings for this film, as you do with big Hollywood movies, and they get responses. And one of the responses they got very late in the process. This is like, a week before the movie's got to get distributed.
Yeah.
Not enough romance, not enough sex.
Whoa.
So they say, shit, they're right. At this point, Kelly McGillis has cut her hair short, and Tom Cruise is off in Chicago making Color of Money with Martin Scorsese.
Oh, wow.
So they say, we need to shoot some more stuff. So they call up Martin Scorsese and say, can we borrow Tom Cruise for a day, like a Sunday on the weekend?
Yeah.
He says, okay. Of course, Tom Cruise's hair is completely different.
Yeah.
And so they go to do one shoot in the elevator. That's why Kelly McGillis is wearing a hat, because her hair is cut short. That's why Tom Cruise's hair is kind of slicked back.
Yeah.
He has Color of Money hair
Right.
now, not the military hair. So they do this scene in the elevator, and they're going to do one other scene too, which we'll get to in a minute.
It's a cute scene, man.
It is a cute scene.
Flirty, cute scene.
Very cute. And it's weird. It's because it's clearly, it felt like in the previous scene, we didn't cement the romance. And in this scene, they do.
I'm gonna be honest with you. Your MiG sighting is really important to my work, but, I don't normally invite students to my house.
I've dated my boss, and you have these moments where you're hiding. There's a certain level of like excitement in the danger of what you're doing, and you see that
When the guy comes in the elevator.
Yeah, and you see that, and he can sense it.
Yep.
He can sense that he's come in the middle of something, and they're having this back and forth between them, this illicit, for lack of a better
Flirtiness,
term.
yeah.
Yeah, flirtiness. So, I've had a past. It's fun. Anyway, yeah. So
you've had a past. Meg Ryan.
Oh,
She steals every moment. Like you understand why When Harry Met Sally came from there.
Yep.
She is so adorable. She arrives at the airport. There's just this. She's just immediately telling all of the secrets because Goose has told her everything.
Right.
It's great. Now we're it's not reviewing flight tape, but it's reviewing these sort of icons of what happened. And the discussion is, at this point, you're in a bad position. It's better to retire and save your airplane than push a bad position.
Right.
And there's a debate about how aggressive you should be.
And she is doing her job.
I totally agree. Yeah.
But she's a little sharp on the delivery.
Yeah.
Because she unnecessarily embarrasses him because she says,
Well, that's a big gamble with a $30 million plane, Lieutenant. Unfortunately, the gamble worked. The MiG never got a clean shot. Maverick makes an aggressive vertical move here, comes over the top, and he defeats the bandit with a missile shot. The encounter was a victory, but I think that we've shown it as an example of what not to do.
And it was embarrassing.
Well, and this is the thing, do you play the percentages,
right,
or do you play the gut? And Maverick is a play the gut guy.
He is.
And the military wants you to play the percentages. And there's that great line in Lawrence of Arabia where General Allenby says, or Lawrence's defense is, shouldn't an officer serving in the field use his initiative at all time? And Allenby says, not really, Lawrence. It's very dangerous.
It's very dangerous.
And that's the old man versus the young man. That's like, I look and see, here are 10 people that use their initiative, and 3 times it worked great.
Yeah.
And 3 times, not so good. And 4 times it was a fucking disaster. Yeah. And you don't know which one it's, you always think that you're going to be the one that works great.
Right.
But not necessarily.
I argue that 9 times out of 10, it's a disaster. And that one time it works.
Yeah. But the one time it worked, people, those are the movie stars and heroes.
Right.
And we tell all the big stories about them. And then we have more people imitating those people.
Yes.
And of course, one of the other pilots says,
gutsiest move I ever saw, man.
Gutsiest move I ever saw, man.
Yeah.
I love that because Goose himself is embarrassed for Maverick. Yeah. You can see it in his eyes. Like, oh shit, he doesn't.
He's not going to handle this well.
Yeah.
He's getting dressed
Goose
down.
knows.
She chases after him outside. He hops on his bike, won't even talk to her.
Love that. I've had those moments.
Sure.
Don't embarrass me, man.
Of course, she jumps in her little Porsche, tears off after him.
I love it.
He does that jump off of the thing, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then she almost causes an accident, catches up to her.
Jesus Christ! And you think I'm reckless? When I fly, I'll have you know that my crew and my plane come first!
Well, I'm going to finish my sentence, Lieutenant. My review of your flight performance was right on.
Is that right?
That is right.
But I held something back. I see some real genius in your flying, Maverick, but I can't say that in there. I was afraid that everyone in that tax trailer would see right through me. And I just don't want anyone to know that I've fallen for you.
They kiss.
This is why I used to, with the manager I dated, this is the fight I used to have with her because she would purposely not talk to me in the break room too much. She purposely wouldn't have exchange with us she would have with other people. And we would fight about this all the time because I'd be like, why are you laughing with all these other, and you won't come laugh with me? And she's like, because I don't want people to suspect what's happening between us. Yeah. So I was it's a very
hard
relatable thing, man.
Yeah, I can understand that.
But I like when she says, I'll have you know that my blah, blah, blah. And she goes, I'm going to finish my sentence. And then what she says to him, though, is, I struck me as a cinephile. I was like, wow, she's in love with him already?
Oh, no, that. I mean, we were pretty clear.
That struck me when she said, I've fallen for you. I was like, that's fast.
Well, and it's because they haven't had, that's what I mean. It's like, I wish there was earned a little bit more. I wish there was a couple of other moments. Yeah. I mean, we had, and that's why they added the elevator scene, clearly.
Fair.
And now we're going to jump into a sex scene, which is the other scene they shot on the same day they shot the elevator scene. They shot the sex scene. She's in a wig. They had time to set like 1 or 2 lights up.
Yeah.
And they have your nice little 80s sex scene.
It's all in silhouette and blue, which I enjoy.
Sure. That's how I set up all my sex scenes.
Yeah, right.
And next morning, she finds a paper airplane with an,
Yeah.
It's cute. Back on the flight deck, Ice apparently has won another one.
Yep.
I feel the need.
The need for speed.
I feel the need for speed. Ow!
This is Hop 19. We got multiple aircrafts, multiple bogies. Iceman and Maverick are 2 points behind. And now we find out Viper is up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Viper. Oh, shit.
And I love that. Oh, he's probably saying, holy shit, it's Maverick and Goose.
I'm sure he is.
Sure he is. And what does Maverick want more than anything? He wants to take out Viper.
Yeah.
That becomes his obsession at that moment. He's supposed to stay on Hollywood because he's his wingman. Yeah. And Hollywood is after Jester. And Maverick wants to go after Viper.
Goose, find Viper. He's out there somewhere.
Stay with Hollywood, Mav. We're covering his wing.
Goose, there's Viper. 3 o'clock low.
Stay with Hollywood, Mav. We're his cover. Don't you leave me, Maverick.
And he just kind of goes,
Hollywood, you're looking good. I'm going after Viper.
And he leaves his wingman.
Yep.
And what's Goose doing in the back? He's saying, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And this is why I say in that previous scene, yes, Maverick was sincere when he said, I promise I will never let you down again. And now he is letting him down again very clearly. It is very clear what he's supposed to do. It's very clear that Goose is saying, don't leave your wingman. Of course, he does it. Right. Because he wants to go head to head with Viper.
Steve, we're men, and we feel the need to prove ourselves when we're young.
Sure. And some when we're old.
Yeah, sometimes when we're old.
But finding balance, well, and having, Goose is his whole life, his whole family, his best friend in the world, and the dude, and not being aware that you are fucking this dude up right now. It sucks. Yeah. But we have a good gunfight, and he's too close for missiles. He's switching to guns. He's about to get Viper. Viper's clearly impressed with how good Maverick is. And what happens right before he has Viper?
Hold it. Goose, check our tail. Shit, there's Chester.
Bingo, Maverick's dead. You're out of there, kid.
Because Jester took out Hollywood and now came to get him. I love Goose's line.
Defense Department regrets to inform you that your sons are dead because they were stupid.
It's nice that he says because they were stupid.
Sure.
Because in fact, it's only Maverick that was stupid.
Well, okay.
I mean, what Goose said, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this.
Goose could have said a little hard. He could have fought a little harder.
Absolutely.
He didn't.
Absolutely.
But Goose is one of those guys that he strikes as one of those guys that takes it on.
Oh,
takes the guilt on.
I totally agree.
Think?
That is who he is. He's the Mother Goose.
Yeah, he's the Mother Goose.
He's taken in all the pain of this poor kid that he's taken care of in a lot of ways and bringing all the stability to his life and dealing with this shit for this person being irresponsible. Right. So here's something really interesting that I found out.
Okay.
So they shot all this Navy stuff. And by the way, we should say that when they're shooting these battles, this is real military planning.
Yeah.
Because you have to have the exact, the Navy pilots said they had the exact same meetings they would have had for real operations. Oh, wow. Because there's all sorts of maneuvers they have to do. They have to worry about launch times and fuel depletion and, angles and how far away they are and map everything out. It was treated extremely seriously. And they went and they shot all this cool stuff and they get in the editing room and it's not working.
Yeah.
And Tony Scott says, well, just follow all my storyboards. And it'll explain everything that's supposed to happen. And the editors say, we didn't have any. He kept saying these storyboards things. I don't remember any storyboards. So then Tony Scott comes in and they edit together on this stuff for a couple of months.
Yeah.
And then they show the movie to Simpson and Bruckheimer and they just go, we have no idea what's going on. This doesn't make any sense at all.
Oh, shit.
And they tore it all apart. And what they did was they reconstructed the whole, none of these scenes really had plots. All this of like I was Hollywood's wingman and I went off him and I went after, that's not in the script and they didn't shoot that.
Oh, wow.
That's all constructed from, they just had a bunch of shots of planes and they said they used every single good shot they had. And the saving grace of this, so by the way, one of the things they did was they took all the main people, Tom Cruise and Anthony Edwards and everyone up in these fighter planes and had cameras mounted inside the cockpit to film them so they have real footage. They used none of it because it's so much vibration. The angles are bad. It just doesn't look that good. You can't see their faces. And these guys are green and sometimes throwing up. So then we didn't use that. So everything that you see of them, they're actually in a soundstage. They're in a cockpit, a cutout cockpit with rear projection behind them, front projection in front of them. The front projection is so that there's a reflection on the glass of their helmets and stuff to make it look real. The camera's on a gimbal, and in fact, the camera is moving in full circles much more than they're moving.
Right.
They're not moving that much at all, and they shot in there for weeks. And the big advantage was that they're wearing masks, which means that you could change their dialogue into anything they wanted.
Of course.
So all the dialogue was recorded at the very end when they had finally figured out what all these plots, what these battles were. So it was all figured out in post, entirely figured out with post.
That's great.
And that becomes the structure of the movie. And this is where, and it's funny, one of the guys in the documentary, this one you were talking about, said the same thing I've said, is that the problem with the best editing Oscar is you just can't, nobody would know that from watching the movie. It would just seem like, well, this is great. And not that, the editors actually wrote this whole thing and created it all.
Yeah.
And they created one more big thing that we'll get to near the end. But so these guys are dead because they're stupid. We're back in the locker room and Jester comes in. I love his line.
That was some of the best flying I've seen yet. Right up to the part where you got killed. You never leave your wingman.
Your wingman, yeah.
This is very important for the film.
Not just in the planes.
Oh, absolutely.
In life.
And there's Iceman.
It's not your flying. It's your attitude. The enemy's dangerous. But right now, you're worse than the enemy. You're dangerous and foolish. You may not like the guys flying with you. They may not like you.
Well, whose side are you on?
Well, and here's the moment when I was watching the movie, Steve, where I was like, damn it, for the first time in 30 years that I've been watching this movie, Iceman is right every single time.
Of course he is.
He is he is just as cocky as Maverick, but he's cocky within the rules. He understands what the right way to fly is. He doesn't come what you would sense from a broken home. He comes from a home where he probably got everything he wanted, and he wanted to be a pilot as well, and he became that. So he's very cocky in that. He's like an 80s kind of cocky guy. Even though he's portrayed as the villain of the piece, he's actually right the whole damn time through the whole movie. And in that moment is when it struck me for the first time in 30 years.
Oh, yeah.
How absolutely right Iceman is.
Well, because Iceman is playing the percentages.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not that he's not a great pilot. It's that, and this is the thing. It's the thing with my student is that are all rules all just all the time? Are there time to bend them? Absolutely.
Right.
But the rules are there for a reason, you know?
Yep.
Is that you need to understand them. You know, it's like that Bruce Lee quote of study everything, take what is useful, discard the rest. Well, you got to study everything.
Right.
Understand why they've done it this way. And you know, because the big thing is to win the big match. It's not about winning this individual moment. It's about winning the game, the whole thing.
You have to understand the rules so that you know when to bend them.
Yeah. And then and Tom Cruise takes it in.
That was stupid. I know better than that. It'll never happen again.
And Goose says, I know. Has he learned his lesson now?
No.
I don't think so either.
And that's why Goose says, I know, and says it a second time because he needs Maverick to believe it, even though he may not believe it.
And here's the thing. Again, I go back to, have you ever had a conversation with a friend who's repeatedly doing the same thing and they say, okay, man, that's it. I'm never doing it again.
Right.
And you don't really believe them, but you're not, I mean, to say, dude, fuck you. You don't, it's not
It's
really
exhausting.
You're not going to do it. You go, okay, man, good. All right. I know. Because I think Anthony Edwards seems actually fairly defeated at that moment. Like, I don't think he's going, oh, good, Maverick's learned his lesson. I think he's going, man, this guy's never going to learn his lesson. This is not, it might take something really bad.
Yeah.
He's in bed. He looks at a picture of his dad, and then we're at some bar. Anthony Edwards is singing Great Balls of Fire with his kid up on the piano.
Meg Ryan has arrived.
Meg Ryan
Great
is there.
Introduction.
Yep. She's talking to Kelly McGillis. And apparently she knows now about the Admiral's daughter and all these other secrets about Maverick. Maverick goes off to sing Great Balls of Fire with, I like this connection to 60s.
Yeah.
Late 50s, early 60s music.
Well, oldie stations were popping up around this time.
Sure, this is what I was listening to in the 80s. I love that music. And then we have this moment alone with Kelly McGillis and Meg Ryan where it's like, where she says,
there are hearts breaking wide open all over the world tonight. Why? Because unless you are a fool, that boy is off the market. He is 100% prime time in love with you.
And then the next one of the most quoted lines of the movie is,
hey, Goose, you big stud!
That's me, honey.
Take me to bed or lose me forever.
Show me the way home, honey.
you gotta love him. I mean, they come in and steal a movie like they like Anthony Edwards. Literally, I love him every single moment he's on the screen. Meg Ryan has 8 lines.
8 lines.
Totally steals everyone.
She announces herself as a force in this movie.
Yep. He takes Kelly McGillis home on the motorcycle,
which is great.
Yep.
Balls of Fire still playing.
Yep. And she says, "You big stud, take me to bed or lose me forever."
By the way, if this is going to be difficult, why are we doing this in public places? Right? Because this is what struck me again. Watching it as a cinephile, I'm like, wait.
I'm glad you're bringing this up because this is, yes, of course.
Because I love this movie to pieces, but I'm still willing to objectively look at it and analyze it.
So, this relationship does not make a lot of sense.
Yeah, well, I mean, the relationship, maybe, but the way they're trying to hide it.
No, there's no evidence of them hiding it at all.
Just because they're not having sex in the middle of the school classroom does not mean they're not, they're technically hiding it by having it in all public places.
We're almost at graduation.
Yeah.
The trophy is still up for grabs. Mm-hmm. Danger Zone is playing again.
Yeah.
I don't know how it's played at least I think it plays at least 3 or 4 times, maybe 5. It's bottom of the 9th. We got multiple bogeys. We got multiple bogeys. I was curious. They never fight each other.
Who?
We never pit Iceman against Maverick.
No, of course not.
Why not?
Because you got to go on the missions to evaluate points. No, fighting each other is.
Okay.
I think that was the compromise they made.
Maybe
we're going to put the trophy in, but they're never going to fight each other because it wouldn't make sense.
And now we've got Iceman and Maverick, and they're both going after. Is it Viper this time or Jester? I don't remember.
Yeah.
And Maverick's got a shot, and Iceman's in his way, and he's like, "Get out of my way!" And Iceman's going like,
I need another 20 seconds, then I've got it.
10 seconds. And this tension is really rising, and Maverick is right behind him, saying, "Give me the shot." By the way, one thing with real Navy pilots, they're never this close. There's no need to be.
Oh, yeah.
They when they were locking in on a target, they're way far away. And Pettigrew told them this, and they said, "Well, we can shoot it your way, but it's not going to be dramatic."
Yeah.
And they did, and he went, "Yeah, you're right. This is that's
boring.
This is really boring."
Yeah.
So all this stuff with being this close is for the movie. And right now, Maverick is really, really close, right on Iceman's tail, itching to get in and get his shot.
Right.
And finally, Iceman 5 seconds, and finally he pulls away, and Maverick gets caught in the jet wake. It goes in jet wash and goes into a flat spin.
We're in a jet wash. Oh shit.
So by the way, I think at this moment, Maverick is still pushing it. He's still not.
Really?
Yeah.
I think this is the one moment where he doesn't. I think it's Iceman who's
holding on too much.
So yeah, he's holding on too tight because he wants to win this trophy. And so he doesn't pull it because they're telling him, "Go, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
I've got the shot, and you can't find the shot." But I also think it's just an accident. It's just an accident. He gets caught in the jet wash. He can't pull out. It's a difficult situation.
I totally think that's what the movie is telling us, and I think I really do. I think that is what the movie is saying.
Yeah.
What's weird to me is I go like, "Well, don't you know about these jet washes thing? And you are right behind him, and you just told him to pull out."
Certainly,
So it seems like it seems like you put yourself in this situation,
right?
But the movie clearly says this is an accident, and the spin out, the flat spin, is really scary.
It is scary.
It's really genuinely scary, and
really
this is constructed out of a whole bunch of different stuff. One of which is where the one person who actually did die in the making of this film was killed, which is a guy named Art Scholl, who I didn't know who he was, but apparently this is like the Evel Knievel of stunt pilots.
Wow.
He was super famous. He had pushed the envelope in all sorts of ways, did all sorts of aerial photography, all sorts of tricks. And what he's doing is filming the POV of the flat spin. So he put his own plane into a flat spin, his plane an inverted flat spin because it was easier to do it. And for him, what they said is he did this all the time. And for whatever reason, he lost control of the plane and it went down in the water and he was killed.
Jesus.
Yeah, which is really, really upsetting. So
what we're watching in the movie is him actually spinning out?
No.
That's another thing.
No, it's all constructed from different stuff.
Okay.
So you have these shots of Anthony Edwards and Tom Cruise who are in this soundstage, in the fake thing. And then you also have how they did some of the special effects. They built big models and small models, but some of them are literally off-the-shelf F-14 models that they bought in the store. And when you look at the shot of the spinning F-14, that's a dude up on an 80-foot tower. He just flung it off the tower to give it a good spin, and it's just falling. That's all that is.
That's great.
And one of the things too is in order to shoot small things and make them look big, one of the things you do is shoot them at higher frame rates. So it's essentially in slow motion.
Right.
And the look for the movie was to have sort of a shaky documentary feel look. But when you shoot things at a high frame rate, it automatically smooths all the shakes out. So you can't get it shaky. So then how are we going to make this shaky?
Right.
So what they did was they attached an electric power drill to the camera and put a piece of wood at the end of the drill so that it's off balance, so that every time it spins, it shakes the camera really fast.
Right.
And then when you slowed that down, it looked more like a handheld shake. And that's how you have the shaky shots of the miniatures.
Well, there you go.
I love how people figure stuff like that.
Oh,
out.
yeah,
It's really interesting.
It's really
so we're in, but the spin is really, really scary. And Maverick can't get control of the plane, and he can't even reach the ejector.
Right.
And he's telling Goose to reach the ejector, and Goose finally reaches it. And there's this line of "watch out for the canopy."
Right.
And they eject, and Goose slams into the canopy, and then they go down into the ocean, and the shots in the water, they're gorgeous.
Yeah,
they
incredible.
are so beautiful. And again, we have these gradient filters and that give us the shift in colors. And there's the color of the dye in the water.
Yeah, the green.
And the round waves created from the helicopter. And even this moment where the guy's like, "You got to let go of him, sir."
Yeah.
And he's holding on to Goose who's with bloody head. And it's gorgeous.
Yeah. I remember this was the big deal. This was a big deal, this death. Right?
Oh,
everyone was like, "Don't spoil it." Like I remember.
I cried in the theater.
Oh yeah,
I know I did because you love Anthony Edwards.
Right. It's such a shock.
Oh yeah.
And people talk about this like it was one of those films that like people didn't want to ruin for other people. Like people didn't want to spoil it, all that kind of jazz.
I'm boring you?
No, sorry.
I'm just Tom Cruise.
It's my
Top
life.
Gun's boring you?
It's my life, Steve. I'm sorry. So yeah.
So originally they wanted it to be a midair collision that caused this accident.
Holy shit.
And the Navy said no.
Yeah.
There's no, because, the Navy's like, no, you have to represent us in the right way. And this you can't do. So they said, well, we got to come up with an accident. And they came up with this. And here's the interesting thing I found out. This is actually Goose's fault.
Oh.
Because according to the Navy
he's supposed to.
So it used to be when you did it in eject, the glass around the canopy of a plane was just glass and it was pretty fragile. And so you would just blast right through it. And when they built the stronger glass of the canopies of the F-14, that wasn't possible anymore. So there's actually two ejector things. One is to blow the canopy off, and then you wait a few seconds, and then you eject the seats. That's what I understand from what the Navy guy said.
Right.
And so that Goose ejected them both at the same time, and that's why he runs into the canopy.
Oh shit!
According to the Navy guys.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Later, Maverick's in the bathroom. He's washing up.
Yeah.
In comes Viper.
In some tighty whities.
He's got the tighty whities.
Uncomfortable.
I mean, I wore them.
I guess.
Yeah, I wore them in the 80s.
True.
I made the transition in the 90s at some point. And then I think Viper gives the worst buck up speech of all time.
Dude, watching it this time, I'm like, these guys, nobody is sympathetic to what's happening. They just want to just get up on the horse.
Well,
It's
and his thing is like, yeah, people die. Guess what? More people are going to die.
Yeah.
You just got to keep going.
What are you talking about? It's my best friend.
Like
Could I have a day?
Just give me a minute.
Yeah, just give me a minute.
And then he has a conversation with Kelly McGillis where he says, I think maybe it's my fault.
Yeah.
And he's kind of going through it. And
I love the line when he says, I just miss him.
Yeah.
That's powerful, man.
It's great. And she says, I'll be here if you need me.
Yeah.
Then he has to go talk to Meg. And he's gathering all the stuff.
Ryan is so good in this scene, man.
And she tries to make him feel better. She says,
God, he loved flying with you, Maverick. He'd have flown anyway. Without you. He'd have hated it, but he would have done it.
And that's her way of saying to him,
go on, move on.
Yeah, move on.
You got to move on.
You got to let go, move on. It wasn't your fault.
Of course, Maverick can't talk.
Right.
There is a lot of jaw flexing acting.
Yeah, he's still learning how to do these moments as an actor.
Yeah. Well, in Val Kilmer too, there's a lot of jaw.
But it's more believable for Kilmer.
Yeah.
Kilmer's a Juilliard trained actor. But with you see that.
Yeah, I think Cruise gets to be a much better actor as time goes on.
Agreed. Especially with emotional scenes.
Yeah. There's a court where they say, just as you say, this was an accident.
By the way, we haven't talked about it enough. The synth score throughout this movie is really great. In the quiet moments when Goose is dying, the little, I think, is it a what is it, little guitar things?
Guitar, I think.
I think it's a guitar thing that's playing underneath, and then here with the like this whole synth thing that's
very good 80s.
Yeah.
Very good soundtrack.
And the way he's shot too, Tony Scott, the angles he's using to make you feel a bit like rigid, disjointed, unsettled is through this whole process. This montage, in essence, of him being excused, but him not being able to get over it.
By the way, I've always liked Tony Scott. He doesn't have a great record, but he has a good record.
Yeah, he does.
In some movies of his that I really, really like. And in listening to him more and more on interviews and commentary tracks and stuff, I like him much less.
Well,
yeah, he does not come off as well as I would like.
Well, the late great Tony Scott.
But they put him back in the plane.
Yeah.
And he's going up. He does beautiful eyebrow acting as well as jaw acting because that's all he has. He's showing some eyebrows.
Yeah, he is.
And he's, come on, take the shot,
Yeah.
engage. And he pulls off and he says, it's no good. It's no good.
Right.
Back on the runway, Sundown. It's like, we could have had him. And Maverick loses it on.
Sundown has no sympathy for him either as well. He's pushing him too. We could have had him, man. Dude, the guy just lost his best friend.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah, nobody has sympathy for him.
Well, and I get that they want to get him back in there, but it seems a little rough.
Dudes are the worst of this shit.
And their response is just keep sending him up.
Yeah. What the hell?
Now we have a scene in the locker room with Iceman in Val Kilmer's apology.
Mitchell, I'm sorry about Goose. Everybody liked him. I'm sorry.
It's so dramatic. Like he's trying to find the right words to not be an asshole. He is such an asshole by default that he says, when he looks up in the air and we all liked him. All of it is really hard for him to say nice things to Maverick.
Well, it also seems like part of him is he's saying, when he says we all like him, it's like, we don't like you.
Yeah, exactly.
We all liked your friend.
Oh, he knows what he wants to say.
Yeah.
Right, but he's cutting himself off because he's trying to be nice.
And then we hear that Maverick's quit. He's at the airport. There's
Yeah.
a scene. Kelly shows up at the airport. She got the job.
Yeah.
And he just sounds like he's ready to go.
But even her, she guilts him. Oh, I guess there's nothing I can say, huh? You're just going to quit. You perfected that move. Man, could I process this? Could I have some time to process
Well,
this?
and when you say the line, oh, you're going to quit, I guess you perfected that move. The implication of that line is that he has been a quitter throughout. He's never quit before.
No, but I think the implication is that he's breaking up with her. By leaving, maybe it's a dig.
But she's moving to Washington. Like we haven't had there's no expectation.
I guess you're right.
I find this scene really strange.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, well, this is the thing. The Bruckheimer movies have big emotional moves.
They do.
And this is one of them. It's like, we are cocky guy, our best friend dies, we go totally in the dumps.
Yeah.
Everyone is telling us you have to go do the thing.
Right.
And this is, we're not doing, there's nothing subtle in here.
Yeah.
We're not giving a human experience of grief. It's like,
right.
What's wrong with you? A quitter?
Yeah, get up.
And she says, to be the best, you make the mistakes and move on. It's just like the rest of us. And she says, I'm here to help. It's like, well, thank you for the speeches. And he said, if I really wanted your help, I would ask for it.
He said, trust me.
Yeah.
I would ask for it. That's a very strong push away or refusal.
Yep. And then she's out.
Yeah.
He goes to visit Viper. And Viper kind of calls him in and tells him the truth about your dad.
What I'm about to tell you is classified. It could end my career. We were in the worst dogfight I ever dreamed of. There are bogeys like fireflies all over the sky. His F-4 was hit. He was wounded, but he could have made it back. He stayed in it, saved 3 planes before he bought it.
How come I never heard that before?
Well, that's not something the State Department tells dependents when the battle occurred over the wrong line on some map.
So you were there?
I was there.
And this is classified, and I could lose everything by telling you this, but I think you need to know.
Yeah.
And the reason is because it was over some border. So the implication, this was in Cambodia or Laos or something like that.
Right.
Maverick asks about his options, and he says, simple, you've acquired enough points to graduate, or you can quit. No disgrace.
So let's have this conversation real quick.
Okay.
Why does he go see Viper if he was
at the airport
ready to quit?
I don't know.
Why does he drive over to Viper's house?
I wonder if this was an editorial thing, that this scene was actually earlier or later.
Maybe.
Because I don't think this sequence quite all makes sense.
Yeah, maybe he goes off for a while and you have a montage of him like contemplating everything, going through everything, like remembering Goose's death, the times together, and then comes back when he's finally kind of processed it to talk to Viper about what's going on.
So here's a thing that happens in the editing room, and I don't know what happened here. But like a thing that happens sometimes is you have the script and you have the way the movie is shot, and in those things you think this is what has emotional resonance, this relationship, this storyline, this whatever, and then you're in the editing room and you're watching it, and the thing that you didn't that you thought had emotional resonance actually has much less than you thought, and the thing that you thought didn't have as any emotional resonance is suddenly more important. And what I think, again, total speculation, is that they thought that the Kelly McGillis relationship had more emotional resonance than it in fact did. And I think the airport scene was originally after the Viper scene.
Oh.
Is that he went to Viper, found out about his dad, that still didn't penetrate. Then and Viper says you can either quit or graduate.
Yeah.
And then we have hey, Wolfman says that he quit.
Right.
Then he goes to the airport. Then she listens to him and calls him a quitter. And then that's what makes him go back to the graduation. And then when they put the film together that way, they said, man, this scene at the airport is not significant. But the dad story and the relationship with Viper actually has more emotional resonance, and so you move it around. I have no idea if that's true, but that's free. And frequently what happens when you're editing, you go like, well, story-wise, then there's certain things that don't work as well, but emotionally it works better. And Walter Murch's rule is that emotion is always the most important. He's one of the great editors. This is how you do it. Now, I don't know if that's true, But I do know that the unresolved thing about his dad is actually way more important in this movie in a lot of ways than the Kelly McGillis romance.
He doesn't get back in that plane without having the questions answered about his dad.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Whereas the romance it doesn't have that much significance.
Yeah.
It's good.
Well, because it's a rushed romance. And it's a romance of circumstance.
Well, and it doesn't directly relate to the problems of the character.
Right.
The problems of the character are not romantic problems.
Right.
The problems of the character is he's got a chip on his shoulder because of his dad.
Yep.
He's always trying to prove something in the air, and that's what we have to resolve.
Yep.
You know, and this is why, you know, what people don't understand about making movies is it's a process.
Yeah.
You don't know. You think you know when you have the script, this is what it is, but it's not.
Right.
And you don't know until you're looking at the images in post what's actually, oh, I feel something here. And I like the exit too when Tom leaves and he says, sorry to bother you on a Sunday, sir. That's very respectful in a way that we haven't seen him before.
He's learning.
Yeah. Swings by Kelly's house. She's gone.
Yeah, it's up for sale.
We're at graduation. Everyone's in their dress whites. Where's Maverick? Iceman's won the trophy.
Of course.
And then there's Maverick, and he goes up to Iceman and says, congratulations.
Yeah.
Which is classy in a way that we might. And right when we're starting to feel a little good about this.
Gentlemen, I hate to break up the party before it really gets out of hand, but there is work to be done. Some of you have to depart immediately. We have a crisis situation.
And it's Maverick and Iceman and Slider and I forget who else.
Hollywood Wolfman,
Yeah, we gotta go off and we gotta go deal with a thing. And we're back out on our aircraft carrier. And of course, this end of the movie and the beginning of the movie was all shot at once.
Oh, sure.
It was 5 days, I think, on the USS Enterprise.
Oh, wow.
Which is a real working aircraft carrier. And they have a deal with the Navy. And, you know, and the aircraft carrier is really out in the service of this movie for 5 days.
That's great.
And Rick Rossovich and Val Kilmer got kicked off the boat.
Oh, no. Why?
Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure why Val got kicked off. Rick Rossovich, you know, didn't impress me so much in hearing his explanation of this.
Oh.
So he was there. They all got assigned bunks, and they're just bunks in crew quarters. And I guess his bunk was near a radiation sign because it's a nuclear aircraft carrier. And so he goes, I don't want to sleep near this. So he just grabs his gear and wanders around and finds another bed and goes to sleep in it. And at 3 a.m, the officer whose bed that is comes in and says, what are you doing in my bed?
Yeah.
And essentially, it seems like he told him to fuck off.
I'm a Hollywood actor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he gets called in front of the admiral on the bridge and dressed down. And it's funny, if he had told this story, and then apparently there was another incident, which he didn't say what it was, and then they flew him off the aircraft carrier and Val Kilmer. And if he had told the story and said, oh, it's so embarrassing, I was a dumb kid.
Right.
I just didn't understand. And I feel really bad. If he had told the story that way, I would have been like, okay.
Yeah.
But this is like a late 50s, 60-year-old guy. And he said, I think they're so bored out there. And we came on and we're having such a good time. And we just stressed them out and they couldn't handle it. And I was like, oh, you're an asshole.
Yeah, kind of.
But they're really shooting on an aircraft carrier. And we find out that there's some MiGs. There's something about rescuing a ship. And I don't quite understand exactly what the plot is.
Yeah.
But Hollywood and Wolfman and Iceman and Slider, they head off to deal with it. And Maverick and Merlin, which is Tim Robbins, are in reserve waiting.
Right.
And I love, of course, we have the line, this is the real deal.
Right. And Viper offers to be Maverick's second in the plane if he doesn't have his assignment when he gets there.
Oh, that's a great point.
Yeah.
And Maverick's on the deck listening to the radar. And, this is a classic 80s line. They must be getting close.
Yeah.
I'm getting a hard on.
Getting a hard on.
Ice has the lead. There are a lot of, first we think it's 2 bogeys. Now it's 4, and then it's 5. And immediately there's a radar lock and Hollywood gets hit.
Yeah.
By the way, they went to the Navy and they said, we want to fire a missile. We want to fire some missiles. And the Navy was like, no, we're not letting you fire. We're flying the planes. That's fine. We're not firing any missiles.
Right.
Because by the way, these missiles cost $100,000 or something to fire one. So finally they said, you can fire one. So almost every missile you shot, that's the same missile. They only fired one. They shot it from several different angles and they would flop it. So on one, it would shoot left to right, and then they would reverse it. So now it's shooting right to left, but they only shot one missile, which we use over and over and over again. And now it's time for Maverick to take off. And he says, I'm supersonic. I'll be there in 30 seconds. And apparently we can't launch any more planes.
Right.
Because something has broken. And Maverick comes to help to engage, and he's on the tail and of the MiG. And what happens? Flies through jet wash.
Yep.
And this is great. This is classic good filmmaking structure.
Right.
Is he has to deal with the thing that killed his friend. He manages to survive the jet wash, but then he's shook.
Right.
Come on, let's get back and engage, Maverick. Come on.
It's no good.
Get in there, Maverick.
It's no good.
Pulls out.
It's no good. He pulls out.
Which confirms which we didn't mention, but which confirms what Kazansky said, or Iceman says to James Tolkien's character when he says, like, it's not personal. Do we think Maverick, is the right person to be up? And the guy says to him, I hear your concerns. Don't worry about it. Just focus on the flying.
Yep.
And so in this moment, when Maverick pulls out, Iceman says, I knew it.
Yep.
Because he was worried about it.
And then we have this moment.
And he's right to have that concern.
Of course.
Yeah.
As you said before, Iceman is always right.
He's pretty much always right.
And then we have this moment where he looks at Goose's dog tags, totally created in post. This wasn't anywhere in here. There's no shot of him in the cockpit looking at the dog. They went, we need one more thing. And they went, well, we have this dog tag shot. And they just reused it over and over again and made this moment happen. And when he's looking at the dog tags, then that music comes in and you're like, okay. And Maverick is engaging.
I'm just glad they didn't have a Goose voiceover.
Oh my God.
Use the fall.
Use the Goose, Maverick.
Use the Goose, Maverick. Use the Goose.
And now Maverick's back and we get that great battle.
Yeah, man.
It's really fun. And in particular, what's fun about it is when Iceman is in trouble and then the teamwork. You're going to break hard, right, or whatever it is. And then we see the brake maneuver. We see all this stuff. And we just wipe out those MiGs.
And he doesn't leave his wingman.
And that's the other thing is that Merlin is going, leave your wingman. He's like, nope, I am not. And now we have learned the lesson.
Yes.
Absolutely 100%. He had to go through everything he had gone through to learn the lesson.
Yep.
We have one missile left. We take out the last guy.
How did they do the explosions?
Oh, interesting. You should ask.
Okay.
So all this is on with the models. And one of the really fun things about doing special effects is that they had to go do explosions for a month.
Right.
So they have like, we're going to blow up black powder. We got dynamite. We have gasoline. We have different chemicals, different additives, and they're just blowing shit up to get the right ones. And then, they're blowing up models. These are some of them are just the little 18-inch off-the-shelf models. Some of them are big 8-foot models. Yeah, they're just blowing them up.
Great sound effects.
Really good.
When they blow up.
And we scratch our fourth MiG.
Mustang, this is Voodoo 3. Remaining MiGs are bugging out.
Maverick requests a flyby. I like this as negative pattern is full. Like, I don't know exactly what pattern is full means.
Right.
But we were just in the middle of a fucking battle. He's acting like it's just an ordinary day. And it's the same guy. And we do the flyby and he spills the coffee.
The buzz in the tower, the second time, works.
I think it's earned.
Because he's learned his lessons.
Right.
But he's still him.
Yes.
And that's really important.
I agree. And Iceman does it with him.
Yes.
That's really important.
Yes, agreed.
Everyone is cheering as they get out of the plane. Hollywood and Wolfman, I guess, were recovered from a rescue operation. Big hug. Iceman.
You are still dangerous. You can be my wingman anytime.
Bullshit. You can be mine.
Val Kilmer refused to say you can bring my wingman anytime. Hated the line. They're like, it's been in the script the whole time.
Of course.
He wouldn't come out on the set.
Of course.
He stayed in his
such a diva bitch.
Downstairs.
Such a diva bitch.
Finally, they somehow got him to come out and give the line. And of course, it's great.
Yeah, of course.
It's like, dude, this is the movie you're in.
It's a cheesy line.
It is a cheesy line.
But you got to make it work.
Later on, he tosses the dog tags into the water,
proving that he's moved on.
And we hear that now that he's a big hero, he can choose any job he wants. He wants to be an instructor at Top Gun. I don't know that Maverick's such a good instructor at this age. Maybe today, 30 years later, in the movie, he's going to be great.
We don't know what the plot is.
But this young guy, I don't know if he's ready to be an instructor.
God help us.
We're back at Top Gun. They actually shot a whole romantic reunion with Kelly McGillis. And it was terrible.
Okay.
So they reshot the whole scene again, and it was terrible. And they're like, how are we going to end this movie? And then they came up with the you lost that love and feeling.
By the way, there's a symbolism in this moment before this thing starts, the plane landing. When the plane lands and they go right to Fightertown USA in the bar, the plane landing is Kelly coming back.
Oh.
Everything's coming back home.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we see fingers put
it's not that
coin in the jukebox.
Tony's a symbolic guy, I'm just saying.
Sure.
Yeah.
The song plays, and there she is. Yeah. And we get that Tom Cruise smile, and he says, this could be complicated. And then we have the repetition. On the first one, I crashed and burned. And the second,
I don't know. But it's looking good so far.
and then we fade to black before they kiss, which is interesting.
Yes.
And I like that we get to see our guys in the credits a little bit.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Then you get to hear the full song.
Yep.
You Lost That Love and Feeling playing powerfully.
And we roll our credits. We've reached the end of Top Gun.
Yeah.
How do you feel?
Feel great. I feel like I want to watch it all over again, even though I just watched it like a couple hours ago.
Obviously, this is a huge hit.
Yeah,
it
man.
ran for a year. Yeah,
Back when movies could do that.
Yeah, it ran for a whole year.
Yeah.
And so we could talk about like Oscar stuff. There was nominated for 4 Oscars. It won for Best Song.
Right.
Other ones were the technical awards, but that's not really what this is about. This is the beginning of a whole thing in filmmaking. It's the beginning of Tom Cruise. It's the beginning of Bruckheimer and Simpson. It's the beginning of a change in the way movies are.
Right.
They brought huge numbers of recruits to the Navy.
Yes.
To be pilots. I wonder how those guys are feeling about their choice.
Right.
I mean, this is a groundbreaking movie.
Yeah, absolutely, and it still resonates today in terms of the soundtrack, the songs, the film itself. But people still come back, still watch it. It's on constant rotation on all cable channels. It is a film that people come back to all the time, and really, it solidified Tom Cruise as a star, a superstar. He, from this point forward, he is a superstar.
Because the other movie that came out, I think, right before this is Legend.
Yes.
And Legend is one of those disappointing Ridley Scott movies.
Yeah.
And I think at that moment, if there's no Top Gun, I don't know that Tom Cruise becomes a star.
Right. I agree
You know?
completely. And if you see Days of Thunder, it's essentially almost the same movie, including the jet wash being the accident. The jet wash is the accident for him and all of that. And Tony Scott establishes himself off this film as well.
Yeah. And Cary Elwes is Iceman.
Yeah, right. In that film. And the Kelly McGillis thing is always interesting all around, and the film itself, what happens with her afterwards. And Anthony Edwards, too. Anthony Edwards, because of this movie, refuses to do the full Revenge of the Nerds 2 sequel, because he had done Revenge of the Nerds before Top Gun, and out of Top Gun, because of how he looks, he thought going back to Revenge of the Nerds would ruin his movie star status to a degree, and so he only does that small scene at the beginning of the movie of the sequel, and then I don't think he ever returns to the movie.
I don't know.
And he doesn't really ever become a big movie star.
No,
but there was
there was
a big
some
TV
movie
star.
of his. There's some movie of his that's like a comedy right after Top Gun, where he's the lead. I don't remember what it's called.
With Linda Fiorentino.
Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
I want to say Hot Target, but I don't think that's right.
It's like a Man Who Knew Too Much story, where he's like a kid that somehow becomes part of some big spy somewhere, I think.
Yeah.
And I totally went to see it in the theater because I loved him so much from The Sure Thing, Revenge of the Nerds, and Top Gun.
Right.
That I went, I love this guy, and it's not that good a movie.
No.
And then it's but he does get to do ER, and that's a huge show for him, which he's great on.
Yes, he is.
And yeah, it's interesting. Do you have any final thoughts, perhaps,
Here's
on
my
Top
final
Gun?
thoughts.
Yeah.
This is still the greatest 80s film ever made. I don't care what anyone says.
Not even close.
You're all
It's not in the top
insane.
10.
No, this is one of honestly, if you could take my heart out of my chest and put it into a movie, it is Top Gun. It means so much to me. Because of when I saw it in my life and what it brings up for me. And we all have those films. We all have the films, certain films that hit us at certain times in our life, changing times in our lives that we come back to all the time and remember and make us feel happy again and smile. And this is a film that whenever I'm down or I'm feeling not so great, I will put this on and it will just lift my spirits. And I can't explain why specifically, but I think it all just comes back to a time when I felt the world was possible, like everything was possible in the world as a young man, and I loved it, and I was feeling myself and everything like that. Other than that, I think it's a great, fun, enjoyable action film with actually something to say about relationships in terms of friendships and what you have to learn as you grow up. The things you have to put away, the cockiness, because there's a price to the cockiness and what you have to learn. You can still be yourself within the construct of a system and follow the rules, but you can still find the moments to be yourself and be rebellious and be different, and that's what's important overall. And it's an enjoyable damn film. That's all I can say.
It's the first thing I want to say, just related to what you said, is that as much as I'm a rational person, I don't think our love of films is rational.
Of course.
Like, I don't think you can go like, here, I'm going to mark up all the positive points of the film, and the one with the most positive points is the greatest film or the one I love the most. That's not how it works.
Right.
And you love this film.
Yeah.
Just like with people, there are people you love, and it's not because you've tallied up their good qualities against their bad qualities. Right. You love them because you love them. Yep. It's funny, by the way, not only is this not my favorite 80s film, I bet I could find 10 films of the 80s that we've reviewed on the Cine-Files that are way above Top Gun.
Well, I'm sorry you feel that way.
And I did.
Not true to me, but I'm sorry.
Well, and this is the thing. Yeah. Please see my previous point. I totally enjoyed watching this movie again.
Yeah.
It is a really important movie. I think I have aged past it in a certain way, particularly with the teaching thing.
Okay.
Is that I can't love it the way that you loved it, even though I did love it probably exactly that way in the 80s.
Yeah.
And now I look at it and it's really the character of Maverick, who's pushing my buttons in a way. And there's some big kind of plot things that we talked about where I go like, well, hold on. But I also think, just as Orson Welles discovered things with Citizen Kane and Hitchcock discovered things in making his kinds of movies, is Simpson and Bruckheimer and Tony Scott discovered something important about what films could be that we did not know before this.
Yep, the formula for them.
And this is a really important change in where film was going to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite films are from those two guys. And Bruckheimer.
Yeah. Well, and you love Bad Boys. You love Armageddon.
I do.
Yeah.
It's my style.
Yeah. I love Beverly Hills Cop. I love Crimson Tide.
Right.
And a bunch of other ones. I haven't seen Flashdance in a long time, but I remember liking that too.
I did too.
Yeah. So I think that's what we think about Top Gun. Of course, we always want to hear what you think. You can reach us on our Facebook page. Do a search for the Cine-Files. Visit our website, cinefiles.net. Buy a couple movies there. Maybe rent some. You can access Amazon streaming. You can subscribe to the movie. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, on YouTube. Leave your reviews on iTunes, comments on YouTube. If you want to support this show, you can do so on patreon.com/the Cine-Files. Maybe there's a movie you want to suggest for us to talk about. As always, you can reach me on Twitter at @SRMorris. John, where can they reach you?
You guys can always reach me at The Roca Says on Twitter and on Instagram. And I hope we brought anybody who loves this film a lot of joy with us talking about it. Maybe some of you who've never seen the film or have been hesitant to watch the film or hadn't seen it in a long time.
You got to fly into the danger zone.
Yeah, you got to fly into danger. Maybe we've inspired you to fly into that danger zone and have a little fun with this film.
And that's it for this week. We will see you next time on the Cine-Files.